now. He is so switched on in terms of linking personal purpose to company purpose to national purpose. Best you listen in, whatever your interests in life are. So that's the one thing. The other one is I don't have a book in front of me, but what I do have is a tweet from a few years ago, in fact, that I just picked up. And I'm quoting on this tweet. It says, in Zimbabwe, being an active, conscious citizen and being young has become a crime. The citizens, especially the young people, are persecuted for their beliefs and for wanting better lives. And that is from Nelson Chamisa. Tell you what, I'm going to be chatting to him shortly. We're just connecting with him. So every reason for you to stay tuned here to the National Pulse. And there's so much more, right? So how do you connect? You connect by calling in live when we open the lines, 086 000 2032. You can WhatsApp us to 0614 104 107, and that's dropping us a text message or a voice note, which is also great. You can also tweet using that hashtag, the National Pulse. Now, while we're at it, I promise you, this sounds like I'm talking nonsense, but it's true. Donald Trump, yesterday, overnight, as he does every day at the moment, he made one of his latest outrageous statements. He said, the people of Iran have asked him whether he'd like to take over the position of the supreme leader of Iran. And he says no, because he really doesn't have the time. He doesn't want to do anything with Iran. But the offer has been put on the table. Donald Trump, supreme leader of Iran. It's got a crazy ring to it. Donald Trump, also president of the USA. Can you imagine that? If anybody can become the president of two different countries in one go. No, it can't be Donald Trump. I did say stand-up comedian. But anyway, he's made that comment. He's also made a series of other quite outrageous statements over the last 24 hours, as is his wont. So there we are. I wonder what you make of that. If you followed what he said, hey, engage with me and tell me about that too, right? So we should be chatting to Advocate Nelson Chamisa pretty shortly. Before we do that, however, let's pick up a conversation that I think is really important to you, because I mentioned Iran and how that affects you. So if you're not interested in anything in Iran and you don't even care and you say, it's not my business, I tell you what, a potential fuel price increase is your business. There's no way, therefore, you can avoid and ignore Iran. We should be chatting to Reggie Sibia from the Fuel Retailers Association. In fact, we do have him now, Chief Executive Officer of the Fuel Retailers Association. Reggie, thanks for joining us here on a Friday afternoon on the National Pulse.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you.
And good afternoon to the listeners as well.
Thank you so much. Now, I'll tell you what, I mean, there's an ongoing war in the Middle East, USA, Israel versus Iran, that, as you know, spills over into the entire region. And all of us are getting WhatsApp comments every day about the price of petrol, from 90 cents a litre increase to 4 rand a litre to 5 rand a litre to 8 rands a litre to petrol rationing kicking in the next week or two, all sorts of things. Like, What is the story?
Look, I mean, the price adjustments, always start with estimates. And but, the latest estimates for petrol are looking around between 5 rand and 6 rand, and diesel looking between 9 and 10 rand. But we are not yet at the end of the cycle. And then also, Ashraf, remember that there's also other local additional costs which are always implemented in April. That is your fuel levies, your UIF, and also, there's some transportation costs to cover the pipeline tariffs, etc., etc. So one can just use the international price movements at the moment, because those local elements, while the levies have been announced at the budget speech, totaling to 21 cents a litre, so that we know. But the road and transportation and the pipeline cost, that is still something that's not out there. But I would say just safely anything between 7 and above 10 rands.
Okay, so that when you say 7 to above 10, that you're talking about in one go, right? We're not talking about phased increases over 1 year. You're talking about something that could potentially be imminent.
Just in one adjustment. But let me also just state the advantage of that. Look, there are different views to this. My view is that I would rather, nobody wants a price increase. Let me start there. But if we have it, what options would one have? Because if you look at the deregulated international market, there is chaos for the past 4 weeks because as the prices were increasing, the consumers were actually affected immediately. Motorists were paying. So there is an accumulative compounded effect. And it's actually difficult for motorists to even budget because you don't know tomorrow morning what is the price of fuel going to be. So we are in a better space in that at least we can predict what the future is going to be, although we'll still end up with that high price. But, there is a saving grace time period where we just know about it coming, but we are not experiencing it.
All right,
so
but when you say saving grace time period, I mean, give us some indication when will this kick in?
Well, this is applicable on the first Wednesday of April. I just need to check what date that is.
All right, but I mean, that's imminent. You say first Wednesday of April would be the first. Yeah. In fact, yes, the 1st of April, this coming 1st of April is a Wednesday. If I got my facts right.
That is the effective date. Yes. Yeah. So that will come in. And then obviously it will impact, the consumers from that point onwards. And also, Ashraf, I've got to say, not much is spoken about the retailers themselves, because they actually having, sleepless nights. If anything keeps them awake at night, it is this coming price increase. Number one, in terms of the working capital that's going to be needed and be raised to afford the orders. And number two is some of the costs like credit cards. Every swipe of a credit card costs the retailer currently 35 cents a liter. And that is not provided for in the margin. And the average profit per liter currently for a retailer on fuel is 33 cents a liter. Now, if you're swiping a credit card, is a loss. Now, with this price increase, is even a deeper loss. So it's something we have been, fighting. We won the court case around it, by the way, and the minister was ordered by the court to actually review the price since 23rd of November. And that has not happened.
All right, but what you mean, just to be clear, you're saying a profit is 33 cents a litre. The cost to swipe a credit card, which is everybody, because hardly many people carry cash these days, will be 33 cents, but not per litre. That's a one-off 33 cents. Is that right? Not per litre, because that's everything.
No.
Yeah.
It's per litre, so the profit is 33 cents on average per litre, but the cost of swiping a card is 35 cents a litre as well. So it means in that swipe, you are losing 2 cents a litre as we speak.
But I'm battling to understand that. That means if I filled up 500 rands of petrol and I use my card, that means in effect the retailer would lose 2 cents for every litre I fill in. They'd lose a profit, if I understand you correctly.
Exactly. For every litre that you.
So where do they make money from? They don't need me there then, if that's the case.
Well, we're trying to make money from other cost centers like your obviously your petrol, your shop. You make money there, but also that the margins are very tight. Sometimes we need to have this conversation about the profitability of a service station. It is not what people think. I mean, if you think about a service station, the pump price just alone, let's say is 23 rands or 20 rands. Of that pump price, 80% goes away to the government and the oil companies. And the retailer is left with 20% of that. And still out of that, they've got to actually, pay for operational expenses. And, wages, for example, takes about 70% of that. So it's a tough business. It's not an easy business.
Yeah.
But people are still there because where else would you go, especially if you look in South Africa with such, economic challenges. So where you are, you better just make the best of where you are. But it's not every service station that makes a good profit, but there are that makes a good profit, and there's two types of them, if I may just. So there are those who actually own the property. That's a different story. Because they also get a return on assets. But the majority of service stations don't own the properties. It's the oil companies that own the properties. So their profit, their 33 cents, is just basically on operating the business.
All right, I get that. Yeah. All right. Look, I mean, I want to go back to the price now, because although we're talking about the filling station owners, and I understand the sympathies we need to be having around them, for the most majority people listening right now, it's like actually they want to know how they're going to survive. Now, as you said earlier on, at least in this case here, they know what to budget. But like that's telling someone you're going to fall off a cliff, so at least you know in advance, you can prepare for it. It really is small compensation. So I just want to confirm so that we are clear. You're saying that on the first Wednesday of April, which happens to be on the 1st of April, there will be a fuel price increase, and it could be anything from 7 rands a litre increase to 10 rands a litre increase. Have I got that correct?
Yes, or above, depending on the movements between now and Wednesday.
All right. Help us understand who makes that decision finally. You know, who sits down, analyzes the cost of crude oil, and who finally makes that call to say it's going to be 10 rands or 7 rands or 11 rands. Who makes that call?
So South Africa use what is called import parity pricing system, because we are a net importer. So so they use the spot Brent crude oil prices, globally, 50% from the Mediterranean side and 50% from the Gulf side. So those spot prices are in the market, published daily. So then those are actually monitored on a daily basis, and then they inform what we call the basic fuel pricing. So the average from the, let's say after the first Wednesday, the Wednesday that we're going to have from the second for the following month. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be tracking those, movements as either they are under recoveries or over recoveries, but they then come to an average BFP. And the CEF group, which is called the Central Energy Fund, does that.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And then they communicate it to the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources.
All right. Let's talk about another issue. Is there likely to be a fuel shortage in the next week? Because if people listen to you and I talking now, there's no way they're going to fill up on the 31st of March. They're going to try and fill up at least a few days before and top it up every day in that period. Is there likely to be a food shortage from the filling stations to the consumers or commuters in that case there, number one? And is there likely to be an ongoing fuel shortage down the line to the point where there needs to be a form of fuel rationing, like we've had load shedding, that type of thing, where you can only fill up X amount a litre? Is that a conversation that's being had?
It's already happening. Okay. So we are tracking this every day. So like the report for today, which was tracking yesterday, 162 sites were dry. But that's 162 over 5,000 sites nationally. And and I think towards that Wednesday, we know that's probably going to be higher numbers. But if we just talk about the current situation, because this impact has already been with us for quite a long time. So if you look at these numbers, it tells you a story that we have actually managed the situation much better than other countries out there where
All right.
most service stations are dry.
But there's a concern. There's a question from a listener which I'll pick up right after this.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter.
No worries, let's go. We're teeing off in an hour.
Great. We're taking your car.
Can't. It's already taken.
What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago.
I sold it to WeBuyCars and made a whole lot of green.
Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car.
Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We Buy Cars, geared for a fast sale, geared for you. We're on the ground and in the air with Thulani Sijo, founder of Take a Pic Drones. What's the flight plan for your connectivity?
The need for stable network connectivity is an absolute must in my field.
And with Telkom Business Fiber and Flexon, Thulani uploads high-res tower inspections and navigates seamlessly on the go. Get Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month and Flexon 4 Pro from 219 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
And by the way, as we talk fuel now, we will be chatting to Advocate Nelson Chamisa shortly. I know we did say we'll talk to him at 10 past. That's changed, but he's going to come up, I think, just after the news headlines in sports. So listen out for that. But for now, there's something that clearly troubles you. I'm sure it will. It troubles me already. Reggie Sibia with me, Chief Executive Officer at the Fuel Retailers Association. Reggie, there's a couple of calls from listeners around the issue of fuel. So let's pick it up.
80%.
Hi, Ashraf and SFM listeners at large. I'm confused. So now, therefore, do they really want us to use credit cards? If I'm in at the filling station now and they are, do I use my credit card? I said yes. Now, I don't know. Over and above that, there are still rewards that I still want to get back. Now, something's just not gelling with what that your guest is saying with regards to the losses. I thought it's 35 cents per transaction, not per liter. If it's going to be like that, then no, heaven help us all. Thank you. Have a lovely afternoon.
Well, I must say,
from Pretoria.
Thank you for that. I'm being rather naive. I also thought it's a one of 35 cents. Okay, there's another as well. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. How is you and how is everybody? I just need to ask your guest that is it already up? Because there's garages in Kurumani already. The price is up. We are now pouring 27 Rand 50 cents per liter. So is it going to be up now and going to be up again when it is gazetted? Can you just ask your guest what is going on in other areas? Because it seems like any other garage just need to put his own, whatever he feel to put on the market, on the customers. You don't have to complain because there's no diesel. Is it that? Is it? How does it work? Thank you.
Okay, got that. So let's get a response, Reggie. Just on the diesel price. Firstly, has it gone up already?
Yeah. Okay. Let me answer this way. So diesel is deregulated. So in principle, anyone can put up the price anytime they want. But we actually, as FRA, have actually stopped one of the oil major companies to do this using actually, I don't want to go to the technicalities, but in that first discussion we had, there is also a provision for what is called a late recovery mechanism. So, which says, if the suppliers are under recovering, let's say in this month that we're going to start, right? So they're going to be under recovering because, the last BFP was set at a certain price, and that has got to continue till the end of the month. But as the prices increase, like we've been seeing that happening, then they actually secure the product already at a price much higher than the previous BFP. Then that is called an under recovery. But that under recovery is catered for by this self-adjusting slate mechanism, which says in 2 or 3 months' time, you will be actually compensated for. You'll have a recovery from the margins or from the pricing system. So whilst it is actually not illegal to raise your fuel price anytime, especially by the retailer, but for the wholesalers, it actually brings this issue of actually going against the objectives of the slate adjustment recovery mechanisms. I hope that answers that. So we have stopped one oil company from doing it.
And has there been shortages of that? I mean, I'd heard the other day as well that in some rural areas already there's an actual diesel shortage which is preventing farmers then, carrying on their work.
Before, let me answer this. We are come to diesel because there is a dynamic that I need to actually make people aware of on diesel. So if you look at, for example, the inland ULP 95 price, right, is 20 rand 30 cents per liter, just to help the first caller. So, and the credit card cost is 1.75% of that. That is where the 35 cents comes from per liter. So is the price of a liter is 20 rand 30.
Yeah.
So, and the cost is 1.75% of that. So that's just as simple as it gets.
All right.
And secondly, the fight on credit cards is not against motorists. We also want credit cards. We accepted credit cards. We encourage credit cards. It's a war against the minister who is supposed to have actually, because we work on a regulated market on petrol, for example. So it's important that any cost that we incur must be accommodated for in the margin. And the court actually ordered the minister to do that from 23 of November 2023, and he hasn't done anything about it. So we're just saying we are also suffering because, there is no justice in the recovery system that the minister is ensuring that we are getting. And the loyalty cards are here with us as well, and they are all linked to the credit cards. We all know that. That's why we have been, stomaching this loss for so long, because we believe there are other advantages of using, cards versus cash in the service station. So I think I've answered that well. Coming to diesel, the reason for diesel to be the most product that is out of stock on sites is because of the demand. The demand has increased by over 30%. And the reason for that is that diesel is also used by commercial customers. So with this, obviously, crisis sort of looming, all measures had to manage that and make sure that service stations are prioritized in terms of product availability to protect the motorist. But now we actually find a situation where some of the small commercial customers are coming to the forecourts, some of them with Bowsers, and they are actually consuming this. So the demand is spiking, and then the infrastructure resource to actually supply the product has not increased. So this then results in the delay of deliveries versus the complete unavailability of the product.
Quick question before we get to news. Let's conclude with that very quick question. Good afternoon. My understanding is our oil comes from Nigeria and another country in Africa. They are not affected by the war. So why are we having these fuel increases? And another one, simple question, is the price of petrol and diesel up in South Africa as of today? Okay, that answer we know, 1st of April, the first Wednesday of the month. So maybe just a quick response on the in 30 seconds on that first point.
Good question. But remember that because we are a net importer, and all prices globally, they are actually based on these international spot prices from the OPEC countries. So even the countries like Nigeria, when they sell their products, they want to take advantage of that. They're not going to sell to us at the cost of their production. They're going to look at what is the global spot prices on that particular day when they sell, and they're going to take advantage of that. And we are actually at the receiving end. So we've got to actually take what comes with that. And also the import parity pricing that I spoke about does also play into this equation.
So basically what you're saying, when this happens, there's a global increase by the oil exporting countries that all these countries just adhere to anyway. Reggie Sibia, you've left me with a headache. Thank you for your time, however. And I've WhatsApped my family group, and I'm thinking everybody's going to do the same thing to say 7 to 10 rands 1st of April, full up, full up, full up. Yeah, thank you for your time. But and the insights, Chief Executive Officer of the Fuel Retailers Association. There we have it. 7 rands, maybe 10 rands, maybe slightly higher, maybe. All of that on the first Wednesday of the month of April, which is Wednesday the 1st. Believe it or not. Here's the news headlines with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, legal representatives of ANC members who successfully interdicted the party's 10th provincial conference in the Eastern Cape say the party's legal team has communicated its intention to honour the court's judgment by postponing the conference until all internal issues have been resolved. Power utility Eskom has extended rooftop solar registration fee waiver by 6 months. The utility says the move is aimed at ensuring grid stability and safety as more South Africans turn to the sun for power. And the police search for the missing Jocelyn Smith has been called off for today at Saldanha Bay on the Cape West Coast. A renewed search for Jocelyn was initiated following recent claims made by a community member regarding her alleged whereabouts. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Midrand, slow moving towards New Road. The N3 northbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on the link to the N12 East at Giluli's Interchange. And the M1 northbound in Melrose, queuing towards Grayston Drive. In KZN, the M4 southbound has a crash before Basel February Road. An incident reported on the N2 southbound after Umgeni Road. And there's a stationary vehicle on the N2 northbound after Kwamashu Interchange. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound, slow moving approaching Okavongo Road exit, Stellenbosch Tail Road in Kells River, slow moving at Nooiensfontein Road and Voortrekker Road eastbound, slow moving through Maitland. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
Tumi is wearing a green second strip Bafana top, which I think is a far more impressive looking top than the yellow first strip.
I'm loving
which
it.
Does suggest she's going to talk about Panama and not the canal.
I'm loving this jersey, and I'm also loving the fact that I'm seeing a lot of people posting their jerseys or themselves wearing their jerseys. Football Fridays are back. But a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Bafana captain Ronald Williams says that a lot of reflection has taken place on the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations performance, with this camp an opportunity to reset. Speaking to the media yesterday at Moses Mabhida Stadium ahead of their first of two international friendlies against Panama, Williams echoed coach Hugo Brousse's sentiments on their last 16 exit in Morocco. However, the skipper also sees the build-up to the 2026 FIFA World Cup as an opportunity to get the team back to where it belongs.
And it was a painful 3 months because of our experiences at the AFCON and the disappointment. So I think there was a lot of reflection that was done. A lot of guys had to go and check where we got it wrong, our identity as a team. And yeah, it was a very painful moment, but I think we've had a good chat with the coach and the technical team over the last few days. And you can see the team is slowly coming back. The identity, the energy, and training has been amazing. So hopefully, we can keep that and learn from AFCON and just grow and try and be better.
Well, Kickoff for this match is at 7 p.m. Elsewhere, FIFA has confirmed that all global sponsorship packages for the 2026 World Cup have been sold, marking the most successful commercial program in the organization's history. The tournament, set to feature 48 teams and 104 matches across 16 host cities in Canada, Mexico, and United States, is already generating record sponsorship revenue before the ball has been kicked. And FIFA says that the unprecedented scale of the event will redefine the global sporting landscape, with more than 6 million spectators expected and billions engaging worldwide. Remember that you can catch all the World Cup fixtures on SABC3 and also SABC Plus and SABC radios. Moving on to rugby, the Bulls have signalled their intent for tomorrow's URC clash against Munster with a tactical reshuffle that blends continuity and impact. Gerhard Steenkamp anchors the scrum in his 100th appearance, while Marco van Staden and Kurtley Arendse are set for their 50th caps. Cameron Hanekom also reaches 50 outings, and hooker Johan Grobler stands out one try away from a remarkable 50 career scores. Willie Leroux returns at fullback, adding experience, while Harold Foster's comeback bolsters the midfield. In the meantime, Sharks head coach JP Peterson admits that his side is still searching for consistency. This is after an up and down run of results in the United Rugby Championship. Speaking ahead of the 7 p.m. fixture against Cardiff tonight, Peterson explains that managing player workloads, particularly with Springbok race protocols, has made it quite difficult to build continuity and cohesion within the squad.
I think if I know the answer, I'll probably write a book about it, how we can get it right. This consistency will always be, as you can see, our results, we're a bit up and down. And it comes with, as you know, rugby is all about cohesion. The longer you play with combinations and team cohesiveness, it helps a lot when you're under pressure. We had 10 days off, and obviously we build up ourselves nicely for Munster. And then, as you can see, we just want to keep consistency with the team. And obviously, it's hard when you got Springboks resting the whole month of Feb, and they need to rest. It is what it is, and they're a big part of our squad. So it will always be a disruption, but it is what it is. But it is tough to build consistency and selection, and obviously with cohesiveness in the team.
Then finally in motorsport, McLaren's Oscar Piastri set the pace in today's second practice for the Japanese Grand Prix, clocking 1 minute 30.133 seconds to edge Mercedes duo Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. World champion Lando Norris returned from hydraulic issues to post the fourth fastest time, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton followed. Max Verstappen struggled to 10th, more than a second off the pace. So it seems like when it comes to Red Bull, their struggles just continue. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
Okay, where's my green Bafana top? I'll settle for the second strip. I don't have to go for the best. I'll go with the second strip.
Let me see what I can do.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Investing shouldn't feel risky. It should give you security and good returns. Earn up to 7.25% interest per annum with an Absa Cash Invest Tracker for an investment of 100,000 rands or more. Your capital is guaranteed with immediate access to your funds. That's minimum risk, maximum benefit. Absa Private Banking customers can invest from just R1. Open via the Absa Banking app, a branch, a private banker, or 0860 111 515. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Right, Eintlik Let's Connect is coming to you from the Montreux Jazz Festival in Franschhoek. The first time this iconic festival takes place on African soil. So join Penny Lebiani and Fran Rico for exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes access, and the festival experience. Watch this Friday, today, the 27th of March, from 4:30 p.m. on SABC2. Eintlik Let's Connect. Be part of the moment. SABC2, you belong.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you Commission Live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Morning Brief.
What issues does this judgment and this finding that the late Mosiuoa Lekota was not of sound mind, and yet there were all of these transactions that were happening,
The question here is, was there authority before for these accounts? Did Mr. Likota give his partner access to his accounts? And if you read the judgment, you see that there was a power of attorney that was signed before authorizing her to have access to his accounts for their living arrangements. It then brings the legal issue, when does the power of attorney cease to be valid? And the answer to that is immediately in May 2025, when Mr. Likota's partner was aware that his mental capacity is no longer that of legal status.
Zolambata, fiduciary specialist.
Tulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, we should be talking to Nelson Chamisa. We've just had a problem with connectivity where we're reaching him, he's reaching us. We're just not aligned at the moment. But I can tell you now, we are talking of, as soon as we can get that sorted out, we're going to talk to him about his political future, amongst many other things, right? In the meantime, of course, you have a view. Did I tell you that we're going to chat to Pepe Murray after 5 o'clock in the fireside chat? He's the author of, he's an ad agency boss, right, Joe Public, but the author of a new book called One Word, The Power of Simplicity in a Complex Business World. I would suggest if you're in business, starting up, entrepreneur, business school, you absolutely have to listen to it. But the notion of purpose in self and purpose in business world come through in that conversation.
Ashraf, can we as a people of South Africa get rid of this fuel levy thing? Let's fight this government that they must get rid of this fuel levy thing. It's too much. And the road accident fund is too much. These things, they need to be reviewed. We pay too much taxes. Swaziland used to get, or they are still getting fuel from us, but their fuel is at least 2 rands cheaper than us, but they buy it from us because
I don't know what happened there at the end. Maybe let's just see if we can get to that. All right, here's another.
The SAFM, I'm listening in now, and thank you guys so much for doing this show. This is so relevant to what we need to know right now and what's going to come up in the next 5 days. Bro, if the fuel levy for government is 4 rand something, and the fuel levy for road accident fund is 4 rand something, that's what he's talking about. It's 80% going to the government, whatever. Are they planning on reducing the fuel levy so that we can get some relief at the pump? It is completely unnecessary for us to have a 4 rand fuel levy. Anyway, the fuel levy used to be 2 rand something 10 years ago. All that extra money that's there, it is unnecessary to tax us on that per liter. So why can't we have the fuel levy reduced by 3 rands? Reduced by 3 rand 50, and you collect a 1 rand 50 levy, 1 rand 50 per liter for every single car. Every single liter that's sold is more than enough money for government. There has to be somebody that has the discussion and says, reduce the levy. The road accident fund, there's accidents. We understand that one, but the other fuel levy for government, just as from the road, for just road maintenance and everything else, that fuel levy is way too high. Come on, guys, let's talk.
Let's talk. Well, listen, maybe we need to have that conversation. Maybe we should. But can you see, if you reduce that fuel levy, what happens to that loss of income that goes to government? You think they've got the money? No ways. So, as per your wish list and my wish list, reduce it. Will it happen? That's what I can say. Impo in Makaung, hello. Impo, you live? Hello.
Ashraf.
Yeah, good talking to you, Impo.
Yes. Ashraf, I would like to talk about the public split between Kunene and Malema. I must say I'm so glad that at least at a point there comes somebody like Kunene who's able to stand against Malema. Because Malema is being accusing many people about corruption and all these sorts of things. And I'm seeing some of the journalists who are doing digging, I think they've been afraid to check these guys' underwear dealings. Now, Kenu Kunene, I must applaud him for what he has done to expose this Malema for what he is.
So what did he do? Just fill us in for those who don't quite know the story. What did he do as per what you call the public spat?
Kunene is linking Malema with people like Bonzingumalo, and then the Mswati, the one who died, and then also linking him to this guy who's been suspended, the Deputy National Commissioner, because and the Mazzotis of this world. He's actually having good connections, strong connections, even in his party. Those people are attending his party activities. They're sponsoring his party. And nobody...
All right, but I mean, look, let's be fair. Those are allegations being made, right? And I understand there must be... Obviously, there's been denials. There's been denials, right?
Somebody to dig them deeper. Somebody to dig them deeper. And then the journalists, it's their job to do that.
All right. But overall, you're happy that it's come to the fore. That's what you're saying. All right,
Somebody is now standing up to him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got that, Impo. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
What about the ANC in the Eastern Cape? That's another row, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Mr. Atraf and your producer and all the listeners of SAFM. Mr. Atraf, I like to comment regard to what happened in Eastern Cape. You know, Mr. Atraf, soon or later, ANC is going down because those leaders, they don't want to leave their position to give another people because Mr. Oscar Mabuyane, they have a lot of support. It's not like those people, they love him because Mr. Oscar Mabuyane, they give those people tenders, you know, because there are a lot of corruption that is happening in Eastern Cape. You know, when they build roads, because always is talking about building roads, all of those things, they give those small companies tenders. Hence, now they want him to come as a third term. We are tired of Mr. Oscar Mabuyane. Thank you.
Okay, we are tired is what you say. Lots of allegations towards the ANC in that region. What about Donald Trump?
Good afternoon, Dr. Ashraf. Donald Trump is a lunatic. And he thinks he's doing the right thing because of, you know, these people who support him. Look what they're doing at G7 there. Emmanuel Macron and his crews there condemning Iran instead of condemning this aggressor, the United States. It's people like them, including my fellow listener Mike from Newlands, who idolize Donald Trump, and he thinks he's cool when he's doing all these shenanigans.
Well, listen, it's very clear and rather bizarre the levels of people who support Donald Trump and who almost think that regarding this South Africa's dealings with Trump is like stupid, that we the idiots. As you've seen over and over again, there are increasingly examples of Donald Trump really chatting completely out of kilter with the rest of the world. However, are people actually publicly making a big noise about him? Very few. There are countries, but in the minority because of vested interests, aren't they? Or am I reading that incorrectly? Anonymous, go for it. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, you're live, Anonymous. Hello.
Yes. Look, I want to talk about something very sensitive, home affairs. I am married to a Lesotho national. The Lesotho national, we have all the permits which were done legally. Eventually, we went to the Lesotho embassy and then we applied for a permanent resident. There was this delay with Home Affairs when the former Minister Motsoaledi said he wants every application to be signed by him. I don't know whether he was dreaming because you can't do that, all these thousands and hundreds of thousands of applications. Eventually, when Dr. Schreiber took over, we were able to get the permit. We were able to get the permanent resident. We went and we applied for an ID because she now must apply for an ID. When we applied for an ID, they turned around and said, oh, hang on, this permanent resident is a fraudulent document. I said, okay, fine, arrest her. Here's the police station just across the road in Delmas. The police station is opposite the Home Affairs. I said, no, have it arrested. They refused. I went to the police. They refused to arrest. We drove back to the embassy in Lesotho to say, hang on, you gave us this document. Home Affairs is telling us this is a fraudulent document. They wrote a letter to say, this document comes from you, head office. You can't turn around and tell us this document is now fraudulent. We've got that letter. We've got everything. We don't know what to do now. My wife, she's a lawyer. She can't work. Everything is stuck now. I hope somebody from Home Affairs is listening. And Dr. Schreiber has done a fantastic job. But until such time they tell us the document that comes from them, it's fraudulent, then arrest.
Yeah. And I mean, do I take it that you don't have a direct line, meaning that it's very difficult if you've got a query? Like, let's just say if you've got a mobile phone query, you can call into customer service and then they can explain exactly what the position is without you going in. Do we not have that equivalent at Home Affairs?
I am frustrated. That line does not work. I tried it for the past 3 months. It doesn't work. Only after hours and then it goes through. and nobody answers at the end of the day. We wanted to go to head office of Home Affairs. They said, no, we're not allowed to go in there. Somebody advised us again to say, no, go to DSS or something somewhere in Pretoria. We ended up going there paying 4,000 or 5,000, whatever amount of money. But to this day, we are still waiting. We don't have answers. Because what they do is they take the document, they write to Home Affairs and send it to Home Affairs. They're also waiting. How long must we wait? We've been married for the past 14 years or so.
But when you say you paid 4,000 or 5,000 rands to, did you say GSS? I mean, who's that? Who's that organization that you have to pay that much to?
No, the GSS, this is where a lot of people apply for visas and all these other things.
Oh, I see.
They sent us there because all of head office wouldn't let us go in there. They told us straight to go to head office, you're wasting your time. They're not going to let you in there.
Okay,
Nobody
but you
goes in
paid 5,000 rands. Like, why would you need to pay that much?
No, but you pay an amount of money to book to go in there for the people to assist you.
But 5,000 rands?
Well, I may not pay exactly the amount, but you paid quite a lot of money.
Sure.
But the problem is now, maybe the problem is not about money. The problem is about now she has a permanent resident. They deny the document that comes from them. They said it's fake. The embassy said, no. This document comes from you. Here is a proof. They wrote a letter. Now we can't go to any. When we go to Home Affairs with that paper, they said, no, go to head office. But head office, they won't let you in. We have to go to VFS or something. So we need help. So somebody must help. I phoned SAFM quite a number of times. My numbers were taken. They were going to phone the spokesperson of Dr. Schreiber so that they can speak to us directly. To this day, I'm still waiting. Even last week, I called in. They took my number, they'll come in. Last week, it was the same thing. It's frustrating.
Yeah, look, I mean, the best I can do, I'm going to just get you to leave your details with Keys and Temba, my producers, and let's just see if they can follow it up. I know they sometimes also struggle with, capacity to do all this, right? But let's see if they can chase up, because I think something has to happen. If you can do that, can you do that? I'm not saying it will work, right, Anonymous? But let's see if you can. I mean, you're there. Just leave your details with Keys. And Temba, let's see if we can follow it up. All right. People are asking, what's happened to Nelson Chamisa? We've had we've been able to talk to him off air. There's some connectivity problem, whether it's telephone or whether it's Zoom chat, that does not allow that connectivity to translate into an on-air conversation, and we're not understanding why. He's out of the country. He's been traveling himself, so we don't know. So Temba's just given a thumbs up to say, sorry, not for today. But Nelson Chamisa has confirmed he will talk to us on Monday. It's not ideal. I must apologize. I really must apologize. We were so looking forward to that conversation. But the good news is that he will talk to us, and he's been very clear that he absolutely wants to talk to us. And he's got a lot to say. So really, my apologies. I'm sorry. Let's talk about the grid evolution and what that means, well, for you and for corporate South Africa right after this.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
So what do we understand when we talk about people who are on the grid and off the grid and this issue of the grid evolution? It certainly comes to mind regarding, energy and maybe other things too. With me is Ian Berger from the Solar Group's SOLA Solar, who talks about why coal decommissioning, transmission bottlenecks and municipal fragility, all that means companies must prioritize renewables. Well, let's understand all of that with Ian Berger then from the Solar Group. Appreciate your time, Ian. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Happy to be on your show.
Much appreciated. So just give us a perspective in terms of what are we really talking about here? I mean, what's the status of this issue of the grid and off the grid and the various examples I just gave in the intro and what you think may well happen?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to touch on is that we need to celebrate that we've gone now more than a year without load shedding, which I think is exceptional and really great for the country and the growth of South Africa, of the economy, getting investments, all of that going again, which is a really important thing that we've got a bit of stability. The point that I think is really important for specifically businesses to understand is that this is really an opportunity to actually invest in energy security, to look at towards renewable energy for more cost-effective electricity supply, but also improving your security of the supply.
When you say improving security after supply, explain that. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, there's various levels of security of supply. So if we talk about load shedding, those kind of things, that's on a national level. So if there's not enough energy being generated, that is a problem for the whole country. But even if you look more closer to your own connection, so for example, the transmission network, the distribution network, there's possibilities there for also having interruptions, specifically in municipal areas where the municipalities are not kind of keeping up with payment to Eskom distribution. It really kind of makes it difficult for them to do the maintenance, and if there's sabotage and all those kind of things also play a role that can influence your security of supply. And that is where the opportunity for what we call behind the meter generation and storage comes in. That's when you've got your own solar system and battery system installed at your facility. And the benefit of this is, firstly, the cost of the renewable energy is immediately a cost saving, but in addition to that, then you can use batteries for security of supply in scenarios where there's load shedding or interruptions in your network. But then additionally, if there's stability, you can utilize the battery, what we call arbitrage, is to effectively shift the energy from periods where it's readily available by renewables, so in the day, towards evening and morning peaks where the electricity is dramatically more expensive. And that then is purely economical benefit to the owner of the system. And then the additional benefit is obviously addressing carbon emissions, particularly with the carbon tax that is due in the next couple of years to come in. There's additional economical benefits to that.
Okay. And in terms of this, I mean, you are addressing it to corporate South Africa. So we're talking big business now, right? In terms of them meeting it. So to what degree are they meeting it? Firstly, in terms of what you're saying as a wish list, what has been the level of adoption?
No, I mean, it's been phenomenal, particularly industrial, so really large users. And I think the big benefit to them is they've got access to what we refer to as wheeling. So it's having a generation plant at some place in South Africa connected to the transmission network, and then the industry or the company effectively buys the electricity from the private generator. And because of both being connected to the Eskom network, that has been the kind of the first step to allow this wheeling energy. So it's effectively energy being generated, and it's a counting exercise to offset the bill from the electricity they procure from Eskom, and then the balance they get from the private generators. So that is the uptake on this has been phenomenal. But the next step that's coming in now is what's being referred to as virtual wheeling, which effectively also allows companies and users, even like down to like the small companies and residential, to actually also procure energy from IPP, so private generators, solar and wind, through this same mechanism. And there's this virtual wheeling just actually brings it all the way down to make it available to like the much smaller users as well.
Okay. What about, and maybe just let's end with this. I mean, so we're talking corporate South Africa, but, you know, even at residential level and others, there's been this conversation that, in fact, because of the high numbers of the public and companies adopting, going off the grid. In fact, it's costing, Eskom money. It's costing them loss of income. It may well cost government loss of income, and they want to change it. And therefore, there's been an additional levy that they want to levy all of us, almost as a punishment for not using their electricity. I mean, where are we with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the best way to kind of address that is to note that Eskom historically has been in one company, the generation, the transmission, which is the high voltage line, and then the distribution, which effectively goes to the end customers in the municipalities. And because it was all under one umbrella, they could charge rates at just what we like for the energy, the kilowatt hour that you're buying. What's happening now is because there's other generators coming in, they have to kind of differentiate between this. And this is where, like what's being referred to as levies here, it is effectively a connection charge that you pay to take care of the transmission network and the distribution, to pay those entities, because they're not actually selling you the energy, the electricity. So that's the fixed costs that are coming in. And it's just basically splitting off the electricity, which you can now buy from a private generator, and then these fixed charges are actually to ensure that the transmission and the distribution divisions, which are now being separated within Eskom, and with the goal to get transmission completely independent of Eskom in the future. So I mean, there is obviously a bit of a conflict there. So Eskom is trying to kind of recover as much as possible, but I mean, there is logic in having to pay for the services that you get through transmission and distribution.
All right.
And notwithstanding those, adding renewable energy to that, it still gives you a more cost-effective way of procuring energy.
But that's another conversation about just should you pay or not. Ian Burger, thanks for your time from the Solar Group, SOLA. Much appreciate that conversation. Let's get the news now. It's just gone 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, Tshwane MMC for Corporate and Shared Services axed, and Eskom extends the rooftop solar registration for SAFM News. I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. The MMC for Corporate and Shared Services in the city of Tshwane, Councillor Khulufelo Morodi, has been removed from her position following concerns raised during the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Morodi was suspended last week following allegations of tender fraud. The executive mayor of Tshwane's decision to remove comes after an assessment of Morodi's conduct, including an inappropriate relationship with a municipal official and engaging outside formal governance channels. Tshwane Mayoral spokesperson Samkelo Mgobozi says MMC Hannes Kutsia will act in the portfolio until a permanent replacement is appointed.
Where uncertainty arises that may affect the integrity or effectiveness of the executive, it is necessary to act decisively in the interests of the institution. This decision does not constitute a finding of wrongdoing, nor does it imply any presumption of guilt. It is a measure taken to safeguard the integrity of the institution and to ensure that the processes, including those arising from the Commission, proceed in a manner that is fair, lawful, and free from interference. MMC Hannes Kutsia will continue to act in this portfolio to ensure continuity in the functioning of corporate and shared services until such time as a replacement is appointed.
Legal representatives of ANC members who successfully interdicted the party's 10th provincial conference in the Eastern Cape say the party's legal team has communicated its intention to honour the court's judgment by postponing the conference until all internal issues have been resolved. The disgruntled party members approached the High Court to interdict the conference proceedings, citing irregularities in the holding of branch meetings. Advocate Sinawo Mkhangela says they are now considering whether to proceed with a contempt of court application.
We received a letter from their attorneys. So they were now conceding that they cannot continue with the conference in light of the fact that there is a court order. So we now have to consider that. They also sought an advice or a view from us whether are we going to continue with the contempt of court proceedings of tomorrow in light of the fact that the conference is not continuing, which is a good thing though. So we are now going to consult with the client, the applicant.
Power utility Eskom has extended rooftop solar registration fee waiver by 6 months. The utility says the move is aimed at ensuring grid stability and safety as more South Africans turn to the sun for power. This means that residential and small business solar systems with a capacity of up to 50 kilowatts can be registered and connected to the grid without paying any application or connection fees. Eskom spokesperson Daphne Mukwena says under current regulations, all grid-tied solar systems must be registered with the network provider to ensure they comply with national safety standards.
Eskom is strengthening its support to customers using small-scale embedded generation SSCG systems, such as rooftop solar, by extending its registration fee waiver from 31st March 2026 to 30 September 2026 and advancing the introduction of a prepaid option for residential customers.
The police search for the missing Jocelyn Smith has been called off for today at Saldanha Bay on the Cape West Coast. A renewed search for Jocelyn was initiated following recent claims made by a community member regarding her alleged whereabouts. Members of the K9 Dog Unit and community members assisted in the search at the Tapakai in Saldanha Bay. The then 6-year-old Smith went missing 2 years ago. Her mother, Kelly Smith, Jacquina Paulus and Stevino van Rijn are currently serving life sentences for human trafficking and kidnapping of the young girl. The French Foreign Ministry has indicated to the U.S. that it is unacceptable for South Africa to be excluded from participating in this year's G20 summit to be held in Florida in the United States. This comes 2 days after France announced that President Cyril Ramaphosa has been disinvited to the G7 summit in the French town of Evian in June because of pressure from the Trump administration. Pretoria hosted the G20 summit last year in Johannesburg and prioritized a number of issues facing the global south. Kylie Kumalo has more.
The United States of America has taken a hostile posture against South Africa and excluded it from the G20 activities. Paris has voiced its displeasure to Washington, D.C. This also comes after France has disinvited President Cyril Ramaphosa from taking part in the G7 summit in June. Instead, France has invited Kenyan President William Ruto to the G7 gathering.
Recapping the top story, the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services in the city of Tshwane, Councillor Khulufelo Morodi, has been removed from her position following a concern raised during the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Abondilambana for SFM News at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Bruce explains Mbokazi Hlongwane decision for Durban-friendly, Proteas women not experimenting in New Zealand ODI series, and Cape Town hosts artistic swimming nationals as Maharaj plots comeback. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, there's a crash on the R21 southbound at Pomona Road, a crash on the N12 eastbound at Xavier Street, and on Cedar Road, a crash near Cedar Avenue West. In KZN, there's a crash on the N3 southbound after Market Road, a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Ashburton Interchange, and a stationary vehicle on the N2 northbound after Kwamashu Interchange. In Cape Town, the N2 eastbound queuing towards Gerabo, the R300 westbound queuing towards the M7 Jakes Hadville Drive, and Blauberg Road westbound slow moving at Gee Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's do some homework. First of all, reaction from you, always welcome. You can call in live when we open the lines for live, so be ready for that. But you can WhatsApp us right away. We'll bank it and play it when we get the opportunity to do that. 0614 104 107 is the WhatsApp number. Save it automatically, so you got it on your phone. 086 000 2032 to call in live. And you can tweet as well, hashtag The National Pulse, and you can tag us, SAFM Radio, and do tag me. Nelson Chamisa, again, my apologies. So that's going to happen on Monday. Just bad connectivity, just could not get him on air today, which is a huge pity. We will, however, we're going to talk about the ANC shortly, that problem in the Eastern Cape. We will talk to Pepe Marais just now, after 5 o'clock, as the Fireside Chat featured guest. He's done many things. He's the co-founder of the Joe Public Ad Agency. But he's written, I think, 2 or 3 books, one Greatness, some more Greatness, something like that. And the latest book is called One Word, The Power of Simplicity in a Complex Business World. So you need to be catching the one word, I can tell you now. Right, comments from you. There's one on that conversation we just had, by the way, about energy.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. A question that I have. It might be a fool's question. My name is Moloki from the Northwest. The renewable energy component of solar panels and whatever, are these able to power industry? In infrastructure, in manufacturing, heavy industry. Are these renewables able to do that currently?
Well, I think partially, maybe. Certainly not everything, right? Here's one on fuel.
Mr. Ashraf, I just want to find out. I have seen so many filling stations, like example, garage. They are charging customers more on diesels. I heard someone saying that it's paying around 30 rand per liter around Pretoria. Is it these things allowed? Like anybody can just decide to change the price per liter of diesel? Are they not taking advantage of the customers? Is it disallowed? Tsako, Silence Shibambu, Laka Malamulele, Section B.
Well, look, if you didn't know it now, you would certainly know it from the chat with the guests I had, Reggie Sibia, that in fact diesel is unregulated. That means diesel can go up and down. Petrol is regulated. So that's your answer. They've taken advantage and they'll put the price up. And as long as you buy it, they will sell to you. Right, let's get on to, so we should connect to get an update on that ANC, yes, it's happening, no, it's not happening, yes, it's happening, no, it's not happening, conference in the Eastern Cape. But for now, there's another issue that's a huge concern. The civil society organizations, including Judges Matter, Freedom Under Law, Section 27, amongst many others, are particularly concerned as to why it's taking the president that long to appoint judges to the Constitutional Court. So let's find out what's the story behind the story with Mbekezeli Benjamin from the Judges Matter Research and Advocacy Officer. Mbekezeli, I appreciate your time as always on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners.
All right,
Thank you
just give us some context here. Help us understand what's required, and then we'll talk about your concerns.
Yes, so in terms of Section 174 of the Constitution, when the President is appointing judges to the Constitutional Court, the Judicial Service Commission is supposed to submit to him a list of names. And if there's one vacancy, the Judicial Service Commission must give him 4 names. If there's 2 vacancies, they must give him 5 names. And from those 5 names, the President is supposed to choose 2 and appoint to the Constitutional Court. But before he does so, he must consult leaders of political parties in Parliament, and he must also consult the Chief Justice. And so what has happened now is that in October last year, the beginning of October, the Judicial Service Commission did interviews, and then they recommended 5 candidates to be appointed to the Constitutional Court. So they sent the list of 5 to the President, and then the President then began the consultation process. And since then, we don't know what has happened. We don't know why there has been a delay. We are now at day 170 since the interviews were done. So almost 6 months since the interviews were done, and we just have no idea why the President hasn't made the appointment.
Okay, and normally, how long does it take?
Normally, in the past, it has taken, 2 months was a very long time. And so this time, if we are already at the 6-month mark, it is the longest since 1994. So it's the longest in South Africa's democratic history that we've gone from interviews to appointment. The appointment hasn't been done now. So it could easily be 6 months, which is a new record.
Okay, and the other part is the President, as you said, recommendations get made. I've certainly followed that story very, very extensively in terms of the recommendations from the Judicial Services Commission. Once the recommendations are made, it's for the President to actually effectively choose, right? So it's still the final word is his, right? Or her, whoever the President is, but now it's a him. When there's a delay like it is now, is the President obliged to give you a reason why there's a delay, number one, and have, organizations like yourself actually asked him?
Let me answer your last question first. Yes, we have written to the presidency to ask for reasons why there has been this delay. We're still waiting for an answer to the letter that we sent to the president earlier this month. So we're still waiting on that. But when you look at Section 237 of the Constitution, it says that all constitutional obligations must be fulfilled without unreasonable delay. So the Constitution itself places an obligation on the President to act as quickly as possible to fulfill the constitutional obligation of appointing judges to the Constitutional Court. So the fact that it's now nearly 6 months, he doesn't owe the public an explanation on why he could not do so earlier. So yes, the President is required to give the public an explanation, but more importantly, he actually needs to appoint the judges as in yesterday.
Well, that we all agree. So just so that we don't miss anything here, in terms of your request, formal request for an explanation, you're saying what has been the response to that request, just so that we're very clear about it?
So we have not yet received a request. So we don't know what the President is thinking. We have not received a response.
Sure. What happens now? I mean, what do you do now?
Look, we do hope that the President will appoint the judges sooner rather than later, because it does have an impact on the Constitutional Court, Ashraf. We know that the Constitutional Court is taking longer and longer to deliver judgment. I mean, if you think about the Phala Phala judgment right now, it is now holding the record for the longest time the Constitutional Court had taken to deliver judgment. In previous time, the previous record was 444 days. Right now, the Phala Phala judgment has been outstanding for more than 480 days. And so that kind of delays and the slowness at which the Constitutional Court is moving is partly caused by its over-reliance on acting judges. Because if there are no permanent judges appointed by the President, the court relies on acting judges. And unfortunately, that slows down the work of the court. So you can almost draw a line between the President's inaction and the impact on the Constitutional Court. And so that's why we are urging the President to act as quickly as possible, and that he shouldn't need to be compelled by a court for him to do his job.
Let me put this to you this way. Do you smell a rat?
No, I don't believe that there's any reason to suspect that there's any wrongdoing. We know that the President was in consultation. We know that he sent some of the leaders of political parties a letter requesting their input by the end of November last year. We know that they had to respond by December. I think the issue might just be, finalizing the process. It seems as if it's not being paid attention to, but we don't believe that it's wrongdoing necessarily.
But I mean, if that's the case, and it takes a while to finalize the process, then why wouldn't they just communicate that?
Well, that's why we've written a letter to the presidency and hoping that we will get a full response on what the delay was, with a full account on what happened on this day, what happened on that day, and why it has taken so long. We are hoping we'll get that as soon as possible because, like I said, there is now a constitutional obligation to explain why a constitutional function was not performed as quickly as possible as is required by Section 237 of the Constitution.
The last thing, the vacuum created by the non-filling of these vacancies, right? What impact is that having on South Africa in terms of the role of the Constitutional Court to, let's call it, service deliver?
Look, the Constitutional Court plays a very important role in interpreting the law, obviously, but in also making sure that the human rights that we're speaking about this month are actually a reality. I can tell you now, there's a big crisis of housing in the city of Cape Town. And one of the cases that are currently before the Constitutional Court is to give an answer on what is the obligation of the city of Cape Town, the Western Cape Province, and the national government to provide especially poor people with housing opportunities close to economic opportunities in the city. That judgment is currently sitting on the Constitutional Court. So when the Constitutional Court is not delivering judgment on time, it is having a direct impact on people's daily realities, especially when it comes to housing in the city of Cape Town.
I know I asked you, do you smell a rat? And you said no. I mean, would there be, considering just how contested the public spaces are right now, would there be, bizarrely, a reason from, if not the president directly, others to willfully delay these appointments? That means there could be some benefit that maybe I can't quite understand.
Look, I also wouldn't know what benefit there would be. The only thing that we see is just damage to an important constitutional institution, which is the Constitutional Court. So I don't think that there's any benefit in delaying these appointments. I suspect it might be just administrative inefficiency. We still are waiting for a response from the presidency, but I don't see any benefit. I mean, we have seen in other countries on the continent where there has been a manipulation of the appointment process. I think the most famous case is that in Kenya, President Kenyatta decided not to appoint 34 judges for no other reason other than to affect the efficiency of the Kenyan courts. We are not there yet in South Africa, but we are raising alarm at how the president is slow in fulfilling his constitutional obligation.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, when you know, please just send us a WhatsApp. We'd love to cover that story. It's very important indeed. Imbekezeli Benjamin, Judges Matter Research and Advocacy Officer. This relates to over 5 months now that the president has been advised with names by the Judicial Services Commission to appoint those vacancies to the Concourt, and they have not come back and effectively rubber-stamped it. Like, the question is 5 months, or plus, why would that be the case?
You're listening to Koketso Sachane on The Meeting Point.
I can't remember who you were fighting with the last time that we spoke, but you were fighting.
Yeah, I know. We do have to fight sometimes, and then sometimes we have to be a little more.
One of the things they say about incumbent candidates is that they must prove themselves to have been effective while they are in office. Now that is not new.
The Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
It's been one of those crazy days regarding the African National Congress. That meeting of people, of ANC delegates in the Eastern Cape. Yes, it's happening. No, it's not. Yes, it's happening. No, it's not. Yes, there's an interdict. No, we're going to go ahead anyway. No, we're not. Are you confused? I definitely am. Now, we should be speaking to one of the representatives from within the ANC. We can't quite do that right now, but what we can do is just get a complete overview of this day, right? So with me is Sidima Mfeku, the SABC News reporter in the Eastern Cape. Thank you for your time and thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Very good evening, afternoon to you, Ashraf, and the rest of the SAFM listeners.
Thank you. Maybe let's start at the very end, right? Did that conference go ahead? Yes, no?
No, we're still standing here. People are going about different things. Some are just outside, completely outside of the venue where the conference is supposed to be. Others are inside, others are just having chilled conversations. It's just really not a specific gathering of a certain nature. People are just chilling. It appears the conference is extremely delaying, if indeed the conference is going to sit there.
But I'd heard that, certainly from the Secretary General of the ANC, that Trump said it will not go ahead, it's going to be postponed, right? So is that official position not yet pronounced?
Well, it has not yet been pronounced. We do know, though, is that earlier in the day today, we were told that because we know from last night that the ANC had an intent to file for an appeal in that court order that interdicted the conference. They had filed an application in the court, in the High Court, for leave to appeal that interdict. But we do understand right now that even though the ANC had told us earlier on today that the appeal, the application for leave to appeal was granted by the court and that the appeal would be heard today around 2 p.m. We recently learned from the legal representatives of the three gentlemen who applied or who interdicted successfully their conference that they did not know anything about the appeal. And when they were speaking to us, they told us that in order for the court to decide the date and the time of an appeal, there needs to be a consensus
on the day and the time of the appeal from both ends, the applicants as well as the defendants, interchanged in this instance, where the applicants in this case would be the defendants, the ANC, the PEC, as well as Mameloko Kubai and the rest, and the defendants being the gentlemen who were interdicting the conference. So they were telling us that the only thing that's going to happen next, insofar as what happens in the courts, is that because they filed an intent of court application where they requested that the conference finds the ANC, SG, Fikile Mbalula, Mameloko Kubai, NEC deployee to the Eastern Cape, as well as Oscar Mabuyane, including other NEC deployees to the Eastern Cape. They find them guilty of contravening that particular interim order. And as a result, one of the key requests in that application for contempt of court is that Oscar Mabuyane, Fikile Mbalula, as well as Mameloko Kubai, be face direct imprisonment for a period of about 15 months with no fine, while the other respondents in that contempt of court application face a fine. So that particular application for contempt of court is going to be heard tomorrow. And one of the other requests is that all the respondents in this matter, in this contempt of court matter, they should explain to the court why should the first three respondents in the matter, which is the NEC members as well as Oscar Mabuyane, why should they not be imprisoned, and also explain why the other NEC deployees to the Eastern Cape should not pay the fine, or should not be found guilty, and therefore exacted the fine on them. So that is something that they said that for tonight they've agreed that they all have to submit their arguments or notions of motions this evening, and then if they all do that, then tomorrow they're going to go to court at 11 o'clock.
Okay, let's just go back to to the beginning. What actually is the issue? Because I mean, these are all ANC members interdicting each other. In effect, what is the core of the problem here?
Well, what is happening here, Ashraf, is that there's members of the ANC and other branches who are claiming that verification processes pertaining to the conference or requisites of the conference have not been properly followed. So there was a manipulation of certain regions, the registration processes, the verification processes, a lot of irregularities they have cited, and the flouting of the rules of the ANC and the guidelines of the ANC pertaining to the conference there's a lot of that. So those are their concerns, that there was a flouting of the general rules and guidelines pertaining to the conference, and it is for that reason that they are interdicting the conference. They were actually saying, the issue in court was the ANC arguing that there are internal processes through which you can go past in order for you to have those issues addressed. But the crux of the problem of the applicants in this case is that none of those processes were fruitful to them and transparent. So they're claiming that the ANC has flouted even those processes. So that's where the issue is here, Ashraf, is that some believe that the ANC did not follow its proper procedure in terms of convening a conference, even establishing a date for the conference. Some are claiming that they were not given the 7-day period that they need to be given just after the release of the final verification report, which was released by the SG in this case. And they're saying that after that verification report, they were not given enough time to look into that report to see if they have time to go through those processes. And what has brought them here is that they did not have time to go through the auditing processes, the dispute resolution processes of the party, and it's for that reason that they went to the court. And the court really saying that they are indeed, the ANC has to go back, not institute or not convene the conference, go back to the drawing board, consolidate its issues, and come back to the court so that the court can make an order regarding whether or not the ANC should have a conference.
Okay, there we leave it. In fact, maybe just the last thing. What impact is it having on the morale of the delegates there? Because, I mean, at some stage, it has to be, what is this telling others about the ANC?
Well, Ashraf, it's a very convoluted question, if I may, because majority of the people that are here, or the delegates that are here, are members of the ANC who know about what is happening in the court about this issue. They are here because they want the conference to sit. And I think the courage behind them or the sentiment among themselves is that this conference must sit. So they are all hopeful that something is going to turn according to their wishes and that the conference sits. But definitely it's going to have an impact on issues relating to how the ANC respects the Constitution. And this is something that has been said widespread by a lot of critics to the party, saying that this is a sign that the ANC is not really adhering to the Constitution, and also it's undermining the rule of law, and among so many other critics or criticism that has been said about the party. So people are sitting outside here. Not a lot of them have left this area, even though there's not a huge visibility of people who are intending to be a part of a conference.
Okay, that's where we'll leave it. Thanks for those insights. Invaluable, I may add. And well done for that. Sidima Mfeko, the SABC News reporter, covering the story of the ANC versus the ANC versus the ANC and whatever else happening in the Eastern Cape. 4:30, here's the news headlines with Tondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the MMC for Corporate and Shared Services in the city of Tshwane, Councillor Khulufelo Morodi, has been removed from her position following concerns raised during the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The French Foreign Ministry has indicated to the U.S. that it is unacceptable for South Africa to be excluded from participating in this year's G20 summit to be held in Florida in the United States. And Austria has become the latest EU country to ban social media for under 14-year-olds. This follows lengthy negotiations with the governing coalition. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Khulufelo Dev.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound slow moving towards London Road. On the N1, busy conditions at Pumalani Toll Plaza, so expect delays. And the N1 northbound slow moving towards Old Johannesburg Road. In KZN, there's obstruction on the N3 northbound after the M7 westbound, a stationary vehicle on the N2 northbound at the N3 and the N3 northbound, a stationary truck on Van Rynens Pass. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound queuing towards Okavango Road exit, the N2 outbound is queuing towards Bunga Avenue, and the R300 westbound queuing towards the M7 Checks Hadwell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
To me, clearly this top of the agenda, Bafana versus Panama, right?
Yes, definitely. Bafana head coach Hugo Bruce has confirmed that US-based duo Mbegezile Mbokazi and Bongo Guhle Hlongwane will sit out the first international friendly match against Panama today. Mbokazi and Hlongwane, who turn out for Chicago Fire and Philadelphia Union in the MLS respectively, travelled across multiple time zones to reach South Africa this week with management of their load imperative to their physical health. And Bruce explained the 6-hour difference is a key factor and will look to field them instead in the second game.
But at the other end, I'm confident. I see that we are ready for the game of tomorrow, and we will see what happens. The only thing I can say about the team is that Hlongwane and Mbokazi will not play. This is not tactical, this is not because they are sick or injured. No, it's just a question of the trip they made from America to here, and also the jet lag, 7 hours difference. So those guys need a little bit time to recover, but they will be there certainly next week, Tuesday, for the second game.
Meanwhile, Banyana coach Desiree Ellis believes that the postponement of the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations could work in her team's favour, giving players valuable time to improve their match fitness. The tournament, originally set for March and April, has been rescheduled by CAF to run from the 25th of July to the 16th of August. And speaking to SABC Sport, Ellis said that the delay offers a chance to assess players still working towards peak condition while allowing others to gain crucial game time time ahead of the competition. In cricket, Proteas women assistant coach Claire Terblanche has made it clear that they will be fielding their strongest team possible for the ODI series against New Zealand, which forms part of the ICC Women's Championship. The two teams will square up in the 50-over format in 3 matches starting this Sunday in Christchurch, with the other 2 slated for Wellington next week.
Yeah, I think we would be trying to play our strongest side, set the platform so we can, later on, as the World Cup approaches, try out combinations, because then we kind of be safe on the points table for that 2029 World Cup. I think, walking away by ticking the boxes with regards to our KPIs, things that we've set out for the players, and the players really just showing that bounce back ability and the character within this team that shows through, especially after the T20 series, to move on now to the ODIs on a fresh slate.
In swimming, South Africa's top artistic swimmers in Cape Town this weekend for the Bombela Concession National Championships. Leading the field is Zira Maharaj, returning from injury setbacks and a concussion kept her out last year. The 22-year-old who competed at the 2025 World Aquatics Championships in Singapore will contest the tech solo, tech team and free solo events. The championships also serve as the final qualifier for the Junior World Championships in Budapest later this year, with duets from Gauteng and Western Cape battling for selection. In terms of athletics, sprinters stole the spotlight in the opening day of the Athletics South Africa Age Group Championships at Germiston. In the men's under 23 100 meter, Adumaran Kareen of Western Province Athletics took gold in 10.26 seconds, edging Tepo Tatini of Central Gauteng, and former national champion Viwe Jikli claimed the under-23 women's crown in 11.48. With that said, it is a wrap from our side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
And looking forward to that as we set that scene then finally for that important game. Well, they play Panama now and then Tuesday night as well in Cape Town, right?
Yes.
So there we are, double header. How significant is that?
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And with all those numbers, Paswane Mphatlele, who's from Markway Fund Managers. Paswane, what have you got, local and global?
Afternoon, Ashraf, and to all your listeners. We can start off with China. They reported on a profit recovery cycle for their manufacturing and private sector. We saw the industrial profits were up 15.2% for the first 2 months of the year, reflecting bullish momentum coming from commodities and thanks to the better pricing. But due to the impact of input costs, such as oil, we might see their margins going under pressure going forward, but still a good outcome when reporting from China. When we look into the markets, Ashraf, we're looking further on to developments where we're seeing it's 4 weeks in, and Trump is kicking the can down the line. As he said, he's extending the attacks on energy strikes for another 10 days till April the 6th. However, Iran is saying that they never requested that. So we're seeing two players on different sides. However, to find more truth in it is looking at the numbers as they don't lie. And we look into the energy market. We look at the likes of oil prices. They're sitting up 2.4% at $110.60 a barrel, signaling that investors are buying every dip, despite what Trump is saying, maintaining an overweight on energy commodities, as they believe that the conflict will remain longer, and this would see the light, especially when you consider the fact that he's continued to increase boots on the ground and increasing inflationary pressures in the future because of conflict escalation increasing. When we look at the likes of expectations in terms of interest rates in the U.S. markets are shifting that interest rate should hike by October and go into the next year by January January, increasing by 25 basis points. Well, back home here, our own central bank signaled yesterday that they will be following a similar trend if the conflict continues into June, and this would basically is reflected in the higher trends we're seeing in yields. Investors are selling bonds, and we're seeing yields are growing higher across the board. Dollar maintains its gains in this environment. Meanwhile, when you look in the background, gold attempting its rebound up 1.9% at $4,460 an ounce. Bullish trend. But right now, when we look at the 5,000 level, it is out of sight. When we look at the other commodities like platinum, they're below trend. We're sitting at $1,860 an ounce. Bitcoin broke a key level of 67,000, sitting at 66,000, therefore looking bearish. When we come into the equities in general, we've seen that the U.S. equities continue to pay off in terms of the short side due to its negative correlation to the dollar. And the stagflation fears are continuing to create a pop in the tech bubble we've been seeing over this decade. In the Nasdaq, we're seeing the likes of the Nasdaq is down 1.2%, S&P Dow down 0.9%. The likes of Europe seeing the DAX down 1.3%, CAC and CAC down 0.8%. Back home here, we're down 1.6%. We're seeing losses across the board. Resource and industrials down 1.6%, and financials are down 2%. When you come into the commodity, the currency market, rand against the dollar is sitting flat at 17 rand 13 cents. Rand against the euro 19 rand 75, and rand against the pound 22.80.
Well, thank you for all of that, Paswane. It means it's time for me to wish you well over the weekend, and we will connect on Monday.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, time for us to get to your calls, and there's many calls and comments, right? I mean, and here's one that's, I think, important. I listened with sadness to a complaint by a listener whose wife's I listened with sadness to a complaint by a listener whose wife's PR was deemed fraudulent. This is a common mistake by the head office, of which they should apologize and take responsibility, especially by bearing the cost for rectification charged by VFs. Interesting one. I can't comment about it, don't know much about it, okay? But I hear that. There's more. There's a range of other comments. Here's another one. Ashraf, I never thought there would come a day where I would shed a tear for someone other than my own. But here I am today empathizing with the family of Shanette Gallachen. I hope I've got the name pronounced right. Gallachen, the daughter of a so-called white privileged people. We have been caught up with the situation of the corrupt and those who are genuinely trying to make everything work. Let's hope that good will prevail. Let not your blood be spilled to no avail to Shanette from Intate Shishopo. That, of course, relates to the attorney who went to Joburg City representing a mining company at a CCA dispute and regarding labor workers, right? And she was killed, like 3 shots, point blank. No robbery, just killed, eliminated, just outside the CCMA offices. A really terrible story that I know we talked about earlier this week. Right, calls from you. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Peter, hi, Peter.
Hi, Ashraf, to you and your listeners.
Hi.
2 areas I want to talk to, and I'll try and be as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Look, nobody's talking about, in the U.S. specifically, about Donald Trump's, not his cognitive ability, but his ability to concentrate. There's certainly something wrong with him medically, because I just read an article this morning about one of the inside guys who worked very closely with him, who said when he was to speak about the hurricane, he then spoke about somebody wearing a red cap and saying he'll just bite the bullet and ride the wave. Now, the war people must not be misled by this. Donald Trump is not seriously considering ending the war. What he's trying to do is he's trying to divert the attention from the war, and then Iran must now believe that there's talks in the same manner that they've done. There were negotiations, and then out of the blue they attacked. He's putting boots on the ground. He's preparing the Navy. And there's a serious reason why they're doing that. You can't want to talk and hold a gun against somebody's head. So they're trying to win this war because they went into it not sure what they want and how long it will take. The second area I want
very quickly, please. Normally I don't want you to talk more than a minute, please.
I know. Is the ANC conference. This thing of the conference it's so sad because it's about who is the better devil. The people who took the ANC to court, and I'm not defending, all I'm saying to you is who is funding them? Because it's a very expensive exercise for a normal member from a branch to execute such an action. Now, there are people behind them. Are they the better devils? Or is Oscar Mabuyane and his team the better devils? That's the question.
What about the devil you know, as you know? People say. Peter,
exactly.
Let's leave it at that. Thank you. Thanks for that issue about Donald Trump. Well, in fact, he commented about cognitive ability even overnight. He's fine, by the way. He just made that comment too, right? And Konke in the Eastern Cape, hi. And Konke, hi, you're live.
Hello.
Yeah, you're live on the National Pulse. Thanks for joining us.
Well, I'm Budi. You confuse me by mispronouncing it if I hear you correctly.
What is the right pronunciation? Tell me.
Budi.
Booty. I don't have it here. Okay, maybe we got the wrong name. My apology, but go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ashraf. I want to opine around the issue of members of the ANC who are taking the ANC to court. But first, why that guy who phoned about Home Affairs, why is he not taking Home Affairs to court? So then Home Affairs in court can explain why they would allege that their own document is fraudulent. I think at times people should really, really feel for the radio stations. There's nothing you can change about the station. You don't have a Home Affairs in Auckland Park.
No, I don't think we should feel for the radio stations. I'll tell you why, and I'm saying this with respect. We communicate to people about the issues that matter. At the same time, the people that matter, like yourself, right? They reach out to us to see if we can assist them because they can't. Those queues elsewhere, those doors are closed, and when they are frustrated, they reach out. So we're fine with that. The problem is we just can't help everywhere. We also, we're not Home Affairs, yes, but if we are able to amplify it, then we will try and do that. So no, we're fine with that. That's my point.
I hear you. I hear you, Ashraf. Listen, my emphasis on this is that this is a person who is knowledgeable who can pay 5,000 for the reasons that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And now it's difficult for him to take the Home Affairs to court. So that's why it gets confusing. I don't want to chastise him, but all I'm saying is that he's knowledgeable. He has 5,000 that he can pay for reasons that are known. Try to get the understanding. He's going out, in and out of it. So I'm thinking, even he stated that the wife or partner is a lawyer. Why don't they take this to court? So then,
well, it's a good question, and you are right. 5,000 is a lot of money for paying something that you're not even sure. Something's strange there. But I get the point. Booty, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, right? And there's another. We go to Matatiele. We go to Wonga. Hi, Wonga.
Hi, Ashraf, and then to your SAFM listener.
Yeah,
Ashraf,
thanks for joining us.
I work in Matatiele as a DA councillor there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big level of corruption. Last week, Tuesday, in fact, this week, Tuesday, the selection process for 3 positions that are available that have been advertised. 1, they dropped the qualification that are needed to suit a certain individual. 2, when they were doing the selection process, they used the master list without CV. All in all, they were just saying, oh, this one is fit, this one is not fit, this one is fit. All in all, they were just selecting their own people instead of doing the proper thing whereby we will get the right people for the institution. Lastly, between 8 and 12 February, Matatiele local municipality councillors went to Durban, and the municipal manager, she only paid the travelling allowance for ANC councillors who submitted disc, but others, their cars are nowhere to be seen. Others have no cars. Others didn't use their cars. But there are some other councillors within the same ANC, few, that I think by the look of things, they are not in his camp. Then those councillors are not paid. She says she wants a disc, she wants a logbook, but to those that she has paid, she didn't have a disc, she didn't see a logbook, nothing was verified, and 6 of them, they don't have cars. The only thing that they keep on doing is to pay for the disc for the car that maybe is either in Durban in a scrapyard, it's either in Pietermaritzburg in a scrapyard. So there's that big corruption that is happening in that particular municipality. You raise your thing in the municipality, but out of the numbers, they vote you out. You put in a motion, they say, no, this motion must not go through because let's test it via the vote. But they continue to milk in the municipality coffers. They continue to do corruption. So I don't know how or who you can hook me up with, whereby I will say, this one and this one and this one, they don't have cars. This one and this one and this one, their cars are broken 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This one and this one and this one went to Durban with.
All right, but I mean, can we hold it now? I don't want to go too long on this thing because I can't actually directly assist you. Again, look, there's no guarantee we can actually help you. I don't know, right? But let me put you back onto Temba and Keys. One of them can see if we are able to, try and at least connect with someone. Because I do agree, there's an increased frustration from people who see us as a way that if we can assist them because they're not getting help themselves. I get that, yeah. All right, can we leave it at that, Wonga? Thank you for that. I hear that frustration from Wonga in Matatiele regarding that municipality as well. And just a quick comment, Ashraf, the Home Affairs and the VFS are a real problem when it comes to spousal visas and permit applications. That caller is very correct. VFS needs to be looked into. 5,000 rands for an application? I'm still troubled by that. Strange one indeed.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action, news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Okay, Eintlik, let's connect. Well, you know that one, firstly, because that happens now. Let's Connect itself coming to you from the Montreux Jazz Festival. We've been talking about it in Franschhoek, brilliant part of the world. It's the first time this iconic festival takes place on African soil. And you can join Penny Lebiani together with Fran Rico for exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes access and the festival experience. So it happens, you can watch from now, in fact, on SABC2, Eintlik, Let's Connect. Be part of the moment. SABC2, you belong.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, there's further comments from you. Let me remind you, Pepe Maria comes in, joins me from 5 o'clock. The co-founder of Joe Public United, a person who's completely switched on regarding purpose and linking personal purpose to national purpose and company purpose, right? But also very, very concerned about education in South Africa. He's written a book called One Word, The Power of Simplicity in a Complex Business World. He joins me from 5 to 6. But you join me already by virtue of you connecting. There's many ways to do that. Lots of people want to talk about the $5,000.
Good evening, Ashraf. Ashraf, I feel that the guy with the PR issue, I think he's not paying enough. End of the day, 5,000 is not sufficient. I believe the residencies and ID books and all cost in the region of 25,000. So he just has to find the right people, and otherwise you're not going to get it. It's like driver's license or something. You never pass until you pay something and you pay the proper amount. I mean, that Home Affairs guy with 25,000 started getting 16 million to his account. Can you believe that? So I think he's gonna be taken on political post.
You reckon? Okay.
The 5,000 that gentleman paid was for a trip, accommodation and fuel and everything to go to head office. That's how I heard him. It cost him 5,000 to go to head office or to that DCC thing. Not that he paid for the service. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for clarifying that, because he didn't clarify. When I said, how did you come to 5 stars? I was like, I don't know, it's something around 5. It's a bit unclear, but fine. That makes more sense. Like, I mean, yes, if you're traveling from another city outside, it takes a lot of time and money and you're going to stay. That I get. Okay.
Hello, Ashraf. I like your questioning, man, when you asked that gentleman from what? Justice Matters or something like that. You ask him, do you smell a rat? How the rat smells, Ashraf? I haven't actually smelled a rat. But I think the big rat is a pala judgment. The more we delay the appointment, the longer it's going to take for the pala judgment, if at all. I smell a rat. I smell a rat, Ashraf.
What does a rat smell like? Maybe you can tell me.
Hi, Ashraf. With regards to the appointments of the judges in the Constitutional Court, I think Ramaphosa has something to hide. I smell a rat. This guy in 2017, I still remember, I was one of the people who supported him wholeheartedly. I could kill for Ramaphosa back then in 2017. Some people were smarter, much smarter than I was, because they could tell it from the word go, like, this is going to be the worst president ever. This guy was very subtle. I couldn't see his dishonesty. He's the most dishonest, the most arrogant and disgusting person you can think of. He's going all over the show just to grandstand. People think like he's a good person back home, and he's so busy. He's busy with nothing. He's a good for nothing person.
But why would you say he's arrogant? I mean, arrogant doesn't make you wrong. In fact, some say he lacks confidence. Some say he's not decisive. You're saying he's arrogant. And one of the ways that arrogance will manifest is being completely decisive about, hey, I make my decisions. He's been accused of exactly the opposite. You'd kill for him? I think there's Malema who still kill for Zuma. Don't go that level, man. Really don't. Not for anybody.
Hey, Ashraf. Now the goalpost is been shifted from Julius Mkwanazi, Sibiya, Sinono, Yomahumela, and Yofani Nkosi to National Commissioner. Really, these people, they don't take us serious as the citizens of this country. They think that we can't see why they are doing all of this. Why are they now gunning for the National Commissioner? We know why they are doing this. They want to shift the blame now so that we could not focus on to those people who are being implicated at Madlaga Commission. Lennon.
Well, Lennon's made his point, and you've made it emphatically. That question about the power grid is interesting.
Ashraf Roros again from the beautiful Winelands, talking about off the grid. I officially went off the grid as of yesterday. So I'm no longer depending on Eskom. Yeah, I'd rather invest in solar, and I think I'm going to save a whole lot over the next 10 to 20 years. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Okay, 10, 20 years, you're off the grid. How are you surviving being off the grid, right?
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and your team, and your guest today. I am smelling a rat. Why is it so difficult for president to appoint permanent judge? Why? We have crisis about acting because of those activists are corrupt. Why doesn't want to appoint the permanent? There is a smell of red there. There is something that president hiding. Why you don't want to appoint permanent judge so that they can deal with issue that we have? The justice system is rotten by acting. So this guy is protecting the president. Something is smelling there.
Okay, that's what you think. And again, there's such a wide cross-section. Who's protecting who on those issues? There's more. We're going to try and squeeze in a few more. There's another one about the Home Affairs.
Gore. Ashraf, yes, Home Affairs is becoming a problem. No, they're not like FNB that will say, how can we serve you? This thing of no walk-in, I had a problem when I was changing surnames of my triplets and adding names. They really put me out. One was done after 2 months, one was done after 4 months, the other one was not done even after 6 months. They were submitted same day. You know, when you go to Home Affairs, they will tell you to go to health office if you want to complain. And when you get there, the regional office at Paul Kruger, Connor Bosman and Paul Kruger, they will tell you that you are not allowed to go in, you must only phone. This thing, it should stop. We need to talk to people. We need to talk to people within bricks and mortars. That is why I don't like Time Bank. I don't want someone to call. I need somewhere where I can go and talk to a person face to face. This is sad. We cannot work like that.
But this is at a time when Home Affairs are using the banks even more so as a conduit to get work done. I mean, you would think there has got to be a very active call center, the way that, you know, I'm looking at the cell phone companies. You can call in insurance. Yes, you can hold on for half an hour, but you'll get to talk to them in detail. Why don't we have that, or do we?
Good afternoon. Greetings to everybody and the listeners. I want to comment on the issue of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, he bombed Iran following allegations, but after bombing it, what Iran, the way in which they behaved bombing all the neighbors, so it might be raising the issue to say maybe he was right to say these guys, if they are going to have a lot of weapons, they are going to bomb the neighbors. Thank you, Anonymous.
Well, there you are. Let's leave it at that in terms of the callers related to what we've had before. Apology about Nelson Chamisa. Was looking forward to talking to him. So that's the bad news. We could not connect. The good news is he's going to talk to us Monday afternoon. So I would suggest after 3 o'clock, I would set your alarm like right away. Papi Maria coming up in a moment. Let's get the news at 5 with Kolofelo Tefu.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories. The Sawa Morudi sacked following corruption allegations, and Austria to ban social media use for under-14s. Good afternoon. The MMC for Corporate and Shared Services in the city of Tshwane, Kolofelo Morudi, has been removed from her position following concerns raised during the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. Morudi was suspended last week following allegations of tender fraud. The executive mayor of Tshwane, Nasipi Moya's decision to remove her comes after an assessment of Morudi's conduct, including an inappropriate relationship with a municipal official and engaging outside formal governance channels. Tshwane mayoral spokesperson Samkelo Mgobozi says MMC Hannes Kwetsiya will act in the portfolio until a permanent replacement is appointed.
Where uncertainty arises that may affect the integrity or effectiveness of the executive, it is necessary to act decisively in the interests of the institution. This decision does not constitute a finding of wrongdoing, nor does it imply any presumption of guilt. It is a measure taken to safeguard the integrity of the institution and to ensure that the processes, including those arising from the Commission, proceed in a manner that is fair, lawful, and free from interference.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has acknowledged the poor state of the country's municipalities. He was speaking at the Free State University, where the cabinet is holding a stakeholders engagement with the provincial government. He says underfunding, lack of capacity, high debt levels and poor revenue collection are some of the challenges faced by municipalities in the country.
In this year's State of the Nation address, I outlined the steps that we will take to strengthen local government, including reviewing the funding model for municipalities and establishing ring-fenced utilities for water and electricity services.
In the Western Cape, the police search for the missing Jocelyn Smith has been called off for today at Saldanha Bay on the Cape West Coast. A renewed search for Jocelyn was initiated following recent claims made by a community member regarding her alleged whereabouts. The then 6-year-old Smith went missing 2 years ago. Her mother, Kelly Smith, Jacquina Paulus and Stephen van Ryn are currently serving life sentences for human trafficking and kidnapping of the young girl. In news further afield, the French Foreign Ministry has indicated to the US that it is unacceptable for South Africa not to be excluded from participating in this year's G20 summit to be held in Florida in the US. This comes after France announced that President Cyril Ramaphosa has been disinvited to the G7 summit in French town of Evian in June, allegedly because of pressure from the Trump administration. Pretoria hosted the G20 summit last year in Johannesburg and prioritized a number of issues facing the global south. Kylie Khumalo has more.
The United States of America has taken a hostile posture against South Africa and excluded it from the G20 activities. Paris has voiced its displeasure to Washington, D.C. This also comes after France has disinvited President Cyril Ramaphosa from taking part in the G7 summit in June. Instead, France has invited Kenyan President William Ruto to the G7 gathering. The bloc remains influential and it consists of richest nations in the world.
And finally, Austria has become the latest EU country to ban social media use for under 14 years old. This follows lengthy negotiations with the governing coalition. Various countries are considering or moving towards similar bans. The BBC's Bethany Bell has the details.
The Vice-Chancellor, Andreas Babler, said the government couldn't stand by and watch as social media made children addicted and ill. In future, he said children under 14 would be protected from algorithms that were addictive. He said other information providers had clear rules to protect young people from harmful content. These, he said, must now be implemented in the digital space. The government plans to have the draft legislation ready by the end of June, but it's not yet clear when the ban will come into effect. There's also still not agreement on how it will be implemented.
The top story at 5 back home. The MMC for Corporate and Shared Services in the city of Tshwane, Kholofelo Morudi, has been removed from her position following concerns raised during the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Headlines at 5:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kholofelo Tefo.
In sports this hour, Bafana Bafana eyes strong showing against Panama. Steenkamp set for 100th cap as Bulls reshuffle for Munster Showdown, and PS3 tops Suzuka practice. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound has a crash near Xavier Street. The N1 southbound has delays near Grassmere Toll Plaza. And the N3 southbound a crash near Linksfield Road. In KZN, the N3 northbound a stationary truck near Colenso Interchange, a stationary vehicle on the N3 southbound at Cliffdale Interchange, and there's a crash on the N2 northbound after Kwamashu Interchange. In Cape Town, the N12 Meiringspoort Pass in Oudtshoorn is closed due to flooding and rockfalls. Campground Road is slow moving through Newlands and the R44 queuing at Klapmuts. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Brilliantly taken!
Last year, the Proteas women were runners-up in the final of the ICC ODI World Cup against India in front of 1 billion cheering Indian fans.
The new champions of the world, India!
Now Laura and her team take them on home ground with your unwavering support behind them. Watch this unmissable T20 International Series versus India live this April with 2 games in Durban, 2 in Joburg, and 1 in Benoni. Let's get behind the Proteas. Tickets are selling fast. Book today at cricket.co.za. Dare to be unbreakable.
You could win a car. You could win a car. Everyone could win a car.
Spar Win a Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products like 750-gram Nescafe Real Coffee Tin or 800-gram Value Pack, excluding decaf, for $129.99. Save 40 Rand. Or 750-gram Cremora Coffee Creamer for $49.99. Save 20 Rand. Price is valid from 23 March till 7 April. Shop, swipe, and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so we're going to fireside chat mode. It's been a hectic week, hasn't it been? Well, we've had Madlanga then come and go, so there's another whole week of no Madlanga Commission that will resume on the 7th of April after that long weekend It's the Easter weekend coming up, right? But fireside chat on a Friday, we speak to someone, sometimes serious, sometimes not. Always matters, I can tell you now, no matter what the mood is. And as I talk to you, like Pappy Murray is taking off his jacket. Why are you taking off your jacket? I mean, we need to take a picture of your jacket. It's all branded, like fully branded with everything. I mean, I'm getting Phineas to do it. Like, we need to put that jacket on there. There's Phineas running. So there we are. Okay. Pappy Murray with me. He's the co-founder of an ad agency called Joe Public or Joe Public Agency, right? But his life, I've had the privilege of knowing you, Pappy, for I don't know, 10, 15, maybe longer, right? Longer. Purpose, besides advertising, is his life. He's deeply concerned about South Africa. I know that. Education too. And he's put out a couple of books and he's got the latest one called One Word. Now, as an audience, and I think I told you this, Pappy, by the way, that often when there's a big issue, like say somebody gets fired, I would say, give me one word to describe your emotions. And sometimes listeners complain, because like, we can't put it into one word. But I find when we ask them to give one word, it forces them to think. When you just say, give me your opinion, they don't think. People just say, the weather's fine. Like, give me one word to describe the weather. Then they think about it. So tell me about one word, first of all, and great that you're in studio.
I love the way. Thank you, Ashraf. Always. Thank you for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. Just on that point about thinking, there's a saying that says 2% of people think, 3% think that they think, and 95% would rather die than think. It's quite an indictment, if you think about it. And maybe it was said in jest, but I like the way that you open that, because when you ask what is that one word, the first answer is you can't do that. You can do that. You can do that at a human level. You can do it at a business level. You can do it at a country level. You can define yourself by one word, but it takes really deep work.
I did say, when you asked me at your book launch, I was there, it's like, give me the one word that defines you. And I said champion, because it's become the word champion and what it means personally and for my country or your country, I think defines a lot of what I do. But what do you mean by when you say one word?
So the book is about this insight that I gained in 2007, that we are overly indexing towards our humanness, and we have forgotten about our beingness. So we shortcut. Joe Public, we call it Joe. Our son's name is Jasper Pepler. We call him Jazzy.
Yeah.
Human being, we call ourselves humans. So we forget about our beingness. And then we obsess about what we do in life, but we don't figure out why we do what we do. And I discovered that when you figure out, but really at a deep level, because Mark Twain, this is amazing, Mark Twain says the difference between almost the right word and the absolute right word is as different as the power between a lightning bug and lightning.
Okay.
That's not profound, So is it great or greatness, free or freedom? They are radically different. So to find that right word is not easy. But in my experience, if you find your beingness and you start doing all the doingness based on the beingness, you have more. You experience more of life. And that's what I've been advocating from my first book. This one now is based on my thesis because I did my doctorate on this subject. Just to tool myself to really become an expert in this field.
And therefore, why would one word matter to an audience? I mean, you explained the being, right? But for the audience listening and hanging on, I mean, to your tagline here, the power of simplicity in a complex business world. I mean, why would it matter to them?
So it says in the business world, but I start on the human being level.
Yeah.
Prior to my discovery of this way of being, I would live from weekend to weekend. So I didn't have a strategy for my life. And we don't have a strategy. We don't have a rudder that guides us as to what is my direction that I'm taking in my life. And I can unpack this so much more. But in essence, I would argue as people, we don't have strategies. Now in business, you do a strategy. Normally it's only a 3 to 5 year strategy.
Yeah.
We think so short term. We don't think long term. And I found that this one-word approach gives me clarity, because when I half my focus, I half my chances for success. But since I found that focus in 2007, I've manifested exponentially more than what I was able to do prior to those 38 years on the same effort, because I was always a hard worker. So what changed? My focus changed. Actually, before the focus, my intention changed. And the intention guides the action. So I would say to anyone listening, hopefully some sort of awareness is raised through the conversation that you're much, much more than just a human. You're a human being, and your being has a name, and it is one word.
And that being is very, very important. How, and therefore, just in terms of you and your own journey, because I mean, I think people need to understand it. So when you discovered your focus, right? What is it?
It was directly linked, and this is where it becomes interesting, and that's why I did this academic journey, and I'm going to pursue actually another one. I'm putting it out there. I don't know where I'm going to find the energy, but I've got a lot of energy, so I will find the time. The time will appear, but I might get into psychology from here on, because I realized it's linked deeply to psychology, because we all have our life stories, and they're deeply rooted in our foundational years between 0 and 7, and they're deeply rooted in trauma. In this country, for the majority of people, far more traumatic than my experience as a privileged person. But irrespective, in the most privileged home, you might never hear your parents saying, I love you. That creates a level of trauma. And it builds assumptions within ourselves about ourselves that holds us back. So my one word was linked to my deepest trauma, which was I'm not good enough. Which was linked to severe issues in my childhood connected to an alcoholic father. And it took me to experience multiple breakdowns, including bankruptcy, health breakdown, relationship breakdown, to interrogate this and discover the furthest opposite of I'm not good enough, which is my word, which is greatness. So now, that doesn't mean I think I'm a great guy.
Yeah.
Because what is so beautiful about this approach is the one word is like the embryo. That's the beginning point of this journey. Now, you can't start your human journey without being an embryo first. So you can't start to define who you really are without finding that word first. But then, if I had to say the color red, and all the listeners, just think what come up for you. One person goes anger, the next person goes passion, the next person goes stop sign, the next person goes Ferrari, red wine, rose. So the one word is meaningless if not defined to that same level of specificity. I don't even know if that's a word.
Okay.
It must be specifically and clearly defined before it can become strategic and add value to your life. So what my one word mean, greatness, its meaning is to bring out the best in those around me through bringing out the best in myself first. And that became my life strategy. So the first part of the statement is an intention, a noble service intention. The second part is an action. So I had to start working at fixing myself for the past 20 years, and I think I'm halfway to being
where you want to be.
Being a pretty decent leader.
Because what you're saying is important, because we'll maybe talk about leadership of our country as well just now, that you can't actually fix up others without paying attention to yourself. And you realize that you don't shape up, right, in effect.
Oh, how can you tell someone to stop smoking if you still smoke? You know, like everything starts with the self. Gandhi said it, be the change. What he means is change yourself if you want to affect change. Fix yourself if you want to fix the country, fix yourself. But what we do in organizations as leaders, even at a leadership level in businesses, we want to do a strategy for our business. We want our business to be purposeful. We want our people to behave in a certain way, but we don't start with ourselves. And if you start with yourself, you start realizing all of us have a lot more work to do, and we don't take the time to do the work.
So if I ask someone now, what's your strategy for life, either on air or even on social media, I wonder what will people answer.
I'll be surprised.
They'll struggle.
They might make it up to, because what I used to do, my ego will want to show that I'm clever. So I'll fabricate something. But by and large, in my experience, most of us, we don't have a clue. And hence we live from weekend to weekend. But once I found my word and its meaning, within one day, I wrote a 25-year plan. So I was going, why do we plan from quarter to quarter? That's short term. Plan for the next quarter century. Now I'm already starting to think 300 years.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And that's what it does, because you start realizing we're way too finite and too small and too self-serving. And all those things, I actually put that in the book. Everything that I wrote down on the Saturday, the 13th of January 2007. Everything manifested so far. And I've got 7 years to go, 6 years to go to 2032, because that was 2007 to 2032 was 25 years. And time will tell if that manifests.
Yeah, wow. Listen, time for, as always, we can't take many calls, but if you're up for it, maybe 2 or 3 calls or WhatsApp comments, absolutely fine. So you can call in live, or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note, or you can tweet out as well if you're up for it. # The National Pulse. If, however, you want to just listen to myself and Peppy talk about one word and greatness, that's also fine too. How did you then discover that greatness is your one word? Like what happened to you? It could have been like the obvious creativity, because you're in that space, right? Why greatness?
And that's the mistake we make. So when we cognitively try to figure out, we often find the word for what we do.
Yeah.
So even when I then did the work with Joe Public, which we had to go through bankruptcy to go and look for the company's word. And that's when I read Jane Goodall's article, and she said, just like humans are human beings, monkeys are monkey beings. And instantly I thought, maybe a business is a business being. And by that hypothesis, I could say, well, what is the beingness? Because Joe Public has a human name. So what is it? So that's how that journey started. But it was triggered through near bankruptcy. So now I've forgotten the question you asked.
Well, listen, how then did you, I'm going to use the word stumble upon, but give me a better answer. Why greatness? Why not creativity?
Yes. So that's where I was going to go. So cognitively, we will always gravitate towards what we do. Cognitively, it's not easy to figure out why. Why do we do what we do? Why are you so obsessed about champions in South Africa? Why? Like, that question is a far deeper question than the what question. And Carl Jung said it takes a breakdown to experience a level of breakthrough in life. So that whole state that I was in, which was the darkest valley of my lived experience of this life, that was the worst period of my life, that 2006, 2007.
Okay. So 20-odd years ago, just about.
Almost 90 years, almost 2 decades now. That was a really deep breakdown, and it forced me to go searching for meaning. And there's so many processes. I mean, I've met a person who's changed his life dramatically, stepped out of a corporate, he's changing so many people's lives. He found it through a 7-day meditation in Tibet. So it depends if you start looking for it, the process to unlock it will find it. Mine was, which I also mentioned in the book. In fact, I actually dedicated the book to the founder of this methodology, which is a transformational workshop. But it was so deep that it really assisted me in finding the truth, because the experience when I found it was really not, you almost can't explain it. It was very magical. It was very deep, very spiritual, very, very difficult for me, very irrefutable of the truth. So this is now my belief because of it.
There we are. Chatting to Peppy Marais, also now of One Word, but also ad agency boss. And he's written a book called, Greatness, right? Yeah, and amongst others. So you need to check out all those things. Fascinating indeed. Let me then ask you about our country. Yes. I'll come back to purpose just now. But what's your thoughts on the state of our country?
It is always better than where it was back in the day. And I wouldn't even have perspective because I was so asleep. But just using my sound logic, it will be illogical to pretend that the country is not far greater than what it was prior to 1995. You know, like you'd be mad.
So when people say, and they see Joburg is not being filthy now and run down, and they say, well, you know, in the good old days.
Yeah, good
you
old
know that
days.
phrase?
I
The
would-
good old days.
I would shut that down and I would say, I would take this country broken to the point it is now and say it is still greater than what it was. That is, if you into humanity and other humans, you cannot condone that at all. But now it's got its challenges because I think what happened with the transformation that happened in our country, we only transformed economically and we did not transform necessarily emotionally, spiritually at this level.
So politically and economically to a degree. Yeah.
Politically and economically, we transformed to a degree. There's another thing that comes up because 80% of our country still lives off 7% of all the income,
Yeah.
while the top 1% still lives off 67% of all the income. And that top 1% is not just only the white South Africans. So that's also people driving a narrative where it's not informed by proper statistics. But this country should be far, far, far further than what it is, and it's not, in my view, because of leadership and selfishness and not being in service of this country. Not everyone, but a very large majority of people that has the power to affect change. I've been working in education for 18 years. Our educational system is broken. We are stealing the futures from our youth. That to me is a crime against humanity. That should not be condoned as much as we don't condone apartheid. I don't openly drive that narrative because that does not affect change. I try and create the change that I can within my means. But you ask me, and that's my view.
So when we say, you know, the fault or the problem is leadership or the lack thereof, right? Because you can't have poor leadership. Poor leadership is not leadership.
Yeah.
You know, people say poor leadership or effective leadership, suggesting that you get effective leadership and ineffective leadership. You either get leadership or you don't, right?
Yeah.
So do we have leadership in our country? We're talking political leadership.
I'm not deeply invested in politics, but if I look at the delivery to the people of our nation, and we have to look at the majority, the facts of how people live and what the situation that they're in, and I know it's complex because the first argument would be, and just I have to say I'm not into politics, but I'm just speaking out totally out of my heart. But you can say, yeah, but we had a much smaller population to take care of when it was apartheid, so it was easier. Now we have to look at yes, that is a good argument, but at the same time, if it wasn't factually true that 1.5 trillion rand, a quarter of our annual GDP, was stolen, and we were then in the situation, then I'll go, there's been too much corruption, there's been too much shenanigans, there's just too much smoke that can let me accept that there's reasons why we are where we are, other than poor leadership. In any business, if a business was in this state, the CEO will be fired. That's the way it works. You know, you want to have the best horse, you want to back the best horse, but if that horse doesn't perform, you got to get someone else in, because your responsibility is to make sure that your company sustain the livelihood of all your people.
Yeah.
And that's not
And
happening.
I know, we've had a telephonic chat a few weeks ago, and you spoke at length about a good example of great leadership, and you said, #stronger together, the Springbok World Cup winning team, 2 World Cups in succession. I mean, that's not a coincidence.
No.
Something's happened. What can we learn from that?
So again, and I'm very almost vehement. I'm a very aggressively good person, I'd say. Like I get very feisty. So even when you ask me this question, I can feel myself, I must watch myself that I don't come across as this ranting lunatic. But you need a level of deep, you need like an enemy that you stand against. And that enemy must be, you want to really fight it. Like mediocrity for me is an enemy. I fight it every single day. And it needs to make you angry to give you that drive to want to fight.
You must be moved by it.
You must be moved. Emotionally, it must affect you because you're tapping into your soul, like into your whole beingness. But what really works there is the meritocracy in which transformation happened within that team. There is absolute merit in every single position in that team. There's not you don't have actually a choice. If it's not on merit, you're not going to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
So you saw transformation happening over time, quite deep down in the system. You can already see in the school system the players coming through. It's a beautiful story. And then what I also actually thought about, which is interesting, because at one stage I had a conversation around bringing a really senior person from New York in the digital space that would probably help us create the opportunity to employ more people, which is probably our mandate number one for business.
As your company, as Joe Public?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was, okay, but now this person is not South African. So now you can't get that person because it doesn't sort of fulfill the mandate of the scorecard. And I asked myself, is it more important to get the right person there that's South African or more important to create another 200 jobs? And I would argue it's more important. So if I again look at the Springboks, they just went for who's the best people that can get our people to be the best. So my endeavor is to grow our people, and I'm committed to that, to be the absolute best. So whoever's in whatever position has to be the best. And I think over time will show that in a small level, because Joe Public, we like 280 people. It's like a big company. And I can see how complex it is. So as I say it, do not think I don't have empathy for the challenge, because the country is a business of 60 million people with probably 20 million people from outside of our borders here. That's a hell of a complex company to fix. So let me not now compare 300 and think we're so great. So I must just say that. So I'm not blaming, pointing fingers. I have a lot of empathy for how complex must it be. I can't even comprehend.
Okay. How do we solve that based upon your empathy? We have with us Pepe Maria. I hope you're enjoying this. You should be enjoying it. Think about it. He's lots of talk about one word and purpose and company purpose and national purpose and your very being as well. More to come. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Kolofelo Tefu.
Thank you, Ashraf. Good afternoon. In the headlines at 5:30, former Flag Plus commander Eugene de Kock has testified that President Cyril Ramaphosa's name was on a hit list that he had during the apartheid years. De Kock was testifying at the inquest into the 1985 murders of the Craddock Four. Action SA has welcomed the removal of Councillor Kolofelo Murudi as a member of mayoral committee by Tshwane Mayor Dr. Nasipi Moya. Murudi's immediate removal follows allegations arising from Madlanga Commission last week, and President Cyril Ramaphosa has acknowledged the poor state of the country's municipalities. He was speaking at the Free State University, where the cabinet is holding a stakeholders engagement with the provincial government. I'll have details on this and other stories at 6.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound is slow moving towards Stormville Road. The N1 southbound has a crash at Allendale Road, and on Witkoppen Road westbound, there's a crash near Market Street. In KZN, a crash on the N2 northbound after the N3. The N3 eastbound is queuing towards Ashburton, and there's a crash on the N2 southbound at Umhlanga Road. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Robert Sobukwe Road due to a crash on the inbound side. Voortrekker Road eastbound queuing towards Mike Pienaar Boulevard, and an animal reported on the R300 southbound after Van Riebeeck Road off-ramp. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, it's green all afternoon for obvious reasons to me.
Absolutely. It's just 3 months to the start of the World Cup when Bafana Bafana will play the opening game against co-host Mexico. And Captain Ronwen Williams says that facing Panama is the kind of pressure that they need to expose themselves to global competition.
It's a good pressure to have. It shows that you are doing well and you're still part of all these major tournaments and you've got something to play for. It keeps you focused, it keeps you ready, and obviously knowing in the back of your mind that in a few months there's the big one, which is the World Cup. So everyone has something to play for, There's a lot of motivation. So it's a good headache to have. But hopefully, there aren't any major problems from now until then, so that we can go with our full squad. Everyone is ready, so that we go out there, with all our soldiers and just be war ready.
Well, kickoff is at 7 p.m. Meanwhile, FIFA have confirmed that all global sponsorship packages for the 2026 World Cup have been sold, marking the most successful commercial program in the organization's history. The tournament, set to feature 48 teams and 104 matches across 16 host cities in Canada, Mexico and United States, is already generating record sponsorship revenue before the ball has been kicked. And FIFA says that the unprecedented scale of the event will redefine the global sporting landscape, with more than 6 million spectators expected and billions engaging worldwide. Remember that the World Cup fixtures, you can catch it here on SABC3, SABC Plus and SABC radio stations. Then in cricket, Proteas women assistant coach Claire Terblanche has made it clear that they will be fielding their strongest team possible for the ODI series against New Zealand, which forms part of the ICC Women's Championship. The two teams will square up in the 50-over format in 3 matches starting this Sunday in Christchurch, with the other 2 slated for Wellington next week.
Yeah, I think we would be trying to play our strongest side, set the platform so we can, later on, as the World Cup approaches, try out combinations, because then we kind of be safe on the points table for that 2029 World Cup. I think, walking away by ticking the boxes with regards to our KPIs, things that we've set out for the players, and the players really just showing that bounce back ability and the character within this team that shows through, especially after the T20 series, to move on now to the ODIs on a fresh slate.
In rugby, the Bulls have signalled their intent for tomorrow's URC clash against Munster with a tactical reshuffle that blends continuity and impact. Gerard Steenkamp anchors the scrum in his 100th appearance, while Marco van Staden and Kurtley Arendse are set for their 50th caps. Cameron Hanekom also reaches 50 outings, and hooker Johan Grobler stands 1 try away from a remarkable 50 career scores. In the meantime, Sharks head coach JP Peterson admits that his side is still searching for consistency after an up and down run of results in the United Rugby Championship. And just speaking ahead of tonight's fixture at 7 p.m, Peterson explains that managing player workloads, particularly with Springbok rest protocols, has made it a little bit difficult to build continuity and cohesion within the squad. In terms of tennis, Coco Gauff powered her way into the Miami Open final by claiming a 6-1 and 6-1 victory over Karolina Muchova. The world number 4 shrugged off an early break of serve to dominate the Czech, racing through in just over 1 hour. Finally, in motorsport, McLaren's Oscar Piastri set the pace in today's second practice for the Japanese Grand Prix, clocking 1 minute 30.133 seconds to edge Mercedes duo Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. World champion Lando Norris returned from hydraulic issues to post the 4th fastest time, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton followed. Max Verstappen struggled to 10th, more than a second off the pace. With that said, it is a wrap from my side. A big I'm wishing Bafana all the best tonight, and looking forward to that one kicking off at 7 p.m.
Right, 1 hour after the show. Thanks to me. Enjoyed it. We'll talk about it on Monday for sure, ahead of the game against the same team on Tuesday.
Oh, I'm so tired.
There's nothing on the TV.
Fanas, girls, let's take a break. We are going to a one-day cup.
Take a break with us. Get your one-day cup domestic cricket 50-over game ticket at www.cricket.co.za. Wozana with It's family time.
For Olwethu Nxumalo of Ozide Rentals and Custom Dressmaking, every stitch is a story. What's your Telkom business chapter?
What made Telkom business stand out from all the rest was how fast everything was.
And with voice calling and fiber from Telkom Business, she stitches together inquiries and sources fabric online without dropping a thread.
Get unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month and Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, last look at the markets for the week. Jamie Muyaha, what do you have?
Good afternoon, to the listeners. We're closing out the week slightly confused, but I suppose it could be worse if we look at some of the markets that have been moving throughout the day. The equity markets were selling off still. We saw that there was a bit of weakness in the price of cryptocurrencies. The risk still sitting out there in the market, with the Brent crude price still well above $100 a barrel at one stage. A little while ago, less than 2 hours ago, we were at around $110 a barrel. So markets still trying to make sense of the tensions as they unfold. Thankfully, other commodities doing fairly well. The gold price back above $4,500 a fine ounce. The silver price back in the $70 mark, above $70 a fine ounce there. Platinum hasn't yet broken back above $2,000 a fine ounce, but it's at about $1,800. Palladium still around $1,400. As I said, equity markets largely sold off today. Asian markets, Shanghai and the Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong were the only two in Asian markets that finished in the green. The rest finished out in the red. European markets were in the red as well. The DAX, the biggest loser there, down 1.4%. The Nasdaq's down 1.2% at the moment. Obviously, that'll still trade into the evening. Locally, though, not much better there. Financial stocks down 1%. Industrials down 1.6% and resources down 0.33%. All-share down almost 4%, as was the top 40. The rand improving slightly against the US dollar, 17 rand and 3 cents, 22.70 against the British pound, and about 19 rand 66 against the euro. One Bitcoin around the $66,000 mark. At some point we're above $70,000, but we're back around the 1.1 million rand in rand terms. We know that interest rate decision out of the Central Bank of South Africa, but also the Fed, the interest rate decision didn't go over as we expected. So those market movements this week, I suppose, largely looking at risk as well from a central bank perspective and not wanting to rush into interest rate cuts. We go into next week, wrapping up the month of March and indeed the first quarter of the year and kicking off the second quarter almost immediately. We'll see what that wrap-up looks like, but we'll be back on Monday with more news. For now, back to you.
Right, you enjoy your weekend, Jimmy. We will connect, and then maybe next time you can talk to the Reserve Bank governor. By the way, I enjoyed the chat the two of you guys had, and he was joking back at you 2 days ago. But leave it for the weekend to mull over.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, Pepe Murray with me. He's my guest on the Fireside Chat. He's the co-founder of an ad agency called Joe Public United, certainly one of the biggest in the country, I'm sure of that, but also very much into personal growth, in terms of understanding your being, as has been mentioned. Also a book called Greatness, and now a book that's just come out called One Word, which relates to the power of simplicity in a complex business world. But hey, you can apply that to just about everything that you do. Now, we were talking about off air, and you said I must remind you about being, consciously incompetent versus unconsciously incompetent. I don't want to forget that.
And also, I just want to mention, because I a long time ago I stopped perpetuating any narrative that judges our country, because I don't think it makes a big difference. And also, I'm very aware that even our business, which is a purpose-driven business, are probably only delivering 5% on our purpose. So who am I to judge a country is only delivering 5% on what its purpose could be? And I'm just making a hypothetical statement there. But what I learned through this academic journey is this 4 states that we go through. We mostly live in a state of being unconsciously incompetent. So we're not bad people. We're just not aware that we are incompetent in many, many, many areas of our lives, because life is so complex and there's so many things that you need to be good at. So the only way to grow as a person is to become conscious of your incompetence. And that's all that happened to me. I became conscious of my incompetence. So I can state with my hand on my heart that there's many areas that I am incompetent at. And now that I'm aware of it, I can start working on those areas. And hopefully in time, because now I'm at the second level, hopefully in time, I will become consciously competent. So when you start becoming aware that you're speaking the right way, or you don't get upset, and then eventually it will change the way, because everything is it's just been conditioned through my upbringing. And I do think that is probably the challenge. And let's not make as if South Africans' leadership's a challenge. It's a global issue.
Yeah, of course.
And we can see it through what's going
what
on
do
in
you
the
make
world.
of what's going on now?
It's madness, Ashraf.
Yeah.
It shows
and
to me.
Trump just said overnight he's been offered the leadership of Iran. Like, I mean, I don't know. I did say he's a stand-up comedian because I don't know. But the fact is, the impact. I had a chat with the representative today around petrol price, retail prices. They said April 1, minimum 6 rands, probably 10, 11 rand. It's going up on April 1.
I saw that.
We see the impact immediately.
I saw that, and it's coming. And when COVID happened, I was sitting watching it go down, hoping that it's a tool to shift our consciousness. Because consciousness, which means awareness, well, there's a beautiful, because what does it mean? You know, there's so many different meanings of what is this thing called consciousness. Mm-hmm. Actually, consciousness is being aware of who I am at the deepest level. And in the absence of that, you really don't have a rudder. You don't have a conscience to do the right thing. So I was hoping that would shift the consciousness and actually the conscience of our leaders and our leadership. And it clearly didn't, because we came out of it, and within a year we were going backwards in many aspects of the world. And that's why I'm so passionate about just being the best version of myself, because at least I can see I'm part of the leadership, just on a smaller level.
Absolutely.
I'm a leader of a company.
Yeah.
So I keep on just, whenever I find myself starting to judge, I become aware of let me just do the best I can do with what I have first. And if more of us can do that collectively, we will create change.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe not wanting to judge, but how do you see what's happening in the world unfolding? Like
a lack of leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So there's a massive lack of consciousness in terms of leadership. I mean, and then also you have to ask yourself, how do those leaders become leaders? Because politically you have to be voted in. So then I start going,
trust you.
Well, to trust and people. I mean, that's why I'm going. 2% of people think, 3% think that I think. Because how do you vote someone like Donald Trump into becoming the leader of one of the most powerful nations on the planet?
Absolutely.
So these things. But again, when I go there, I don't have enough depth of understanding of that. So I always pull myself back to what can I control? Well, I can control the level of husband I am, the level of father that I am, the level of leader I am within my own organization, and hopefully in time that circle will get a bit bigger if it's my journey to become more influential.
Very, very important. Chatting to Pepe Moria, by the way, as you know, I mean, often enough with this conversation we just talk, but I just want to remind you, especially if you know Pepe, and if you want to say hi to him, you can call in live if you're up for that. 086 000 2032. You can WhatsApp as well. 0614 104 107. There's a few comments on social media, but if you want to comment or call in if you know Pepe, that's great. Otherwise, just keep on listening to us. We'll talk up to 6 o'clock. Right. What about purpose? Now, you feel strongly about purpose. I talk about it often as well in lots of my talks, and I talk about linking personal purpose to the national purpose. When we say, you spoke about one word, is purpose the one word, or is that something completely different?
No. So the one word that I unpack in the book is this belief, and it's not an hypothesis anymore, because, and I'm nowadays, I flipped seeing is believing to believing is seeing, because I deeply believe that this is the new way of living your life. It's a new way of leading a business, and potentially it could be the silver bullet to assist leadership to take this country where it's destined to be, a shining example to the world. I mean, this is, if you think what this country has spawned, the second most famous human being since Jesus Christ, in my view. I mean, look at Nelson Mandela from this country, the richest human on the planet, etc., etc. So it's got everything going for it to be a phenomenal country. I ran a marathon on the Great Wall of China to raise funds for education many years ago. Everyone knew South Africa's flag.
Yeah.
I was running with 26.
Yeah.
Everyone knew us. I thought we were the most famous country in the world because where we come from and what we've achieved. And I think we've lost our direction, and hopefully that's going to be the next little kick that it needs to take another step change.
So, from a Champion South Africa perspective, a project that I drive, I speak about that, the national purpose very often, right? So clearly we don't have a national purpose, right? I mean, I don't know what it is.
We don't. We don't. And we don't have to feel bad about it, because out of all the businesses I looked at globally, only 2 knows their actual purpose, can define it in one word. To a degree, I'm sure a lot more, but to a degree that you ask 1,500 consumers and more than 7 out of 10 tell you what it is. That's when you know you're living a purpose, when other people can play it back at you. So based on that, I've only found 2 brands out of all the brands in the world that does that.
Which brands are those?
Volvo is the one, and I haven't seen data on how many people out of a sample size, but whenever I mention it, I hear people in the audience going safety, safety, safety.
Okay.
You know, and Volvo, incidentally, they actually came up with the safety belt, and they gave that away to the world. They didn't capitalize on it.
Okay, fascinating.
So, and they stand for safety. And the other one's on our local shore, and that is Woolworths.
Okay.
And 2 years ago, in a sample size of 1,500 consumers, 73% said quality.
Yeah.
And quality was in the original intention statement of, I can't remember what Sonnenberg, Max Sonnenberg, I think in 1931. It was in his original statement, quality. And somehow they have managed to keep that invisible glove that holds that business together.
Incredible. So what about, okay, I mean, we need to find a purpose. Are there countries that have purpose besides South Africa?
Well, there's 195 countries on the planet. Only one knows its purpose. So I go, what an amazing opportunity. And the one that actually defined their purpose, I think it was in the 70s, I might mention, it's in my research, in my thesis, is Bhutan. And Bhutan introduced the gross national happiness indicator.
Yes.
They changed their GDP.
Yeah.
Your GDP is your bottom line. Now, we all know in business your bottom line has become your top priority because of Milton Friedman, which I don't believe that's the right approach. As an entrepreneur and a founder of a business, I've seen that when you make money your number one priority as your purpose in your business, it led me to me and my partners, us as a collective, to bankruptcy. But when you make purpose your top priority and you base everything on that purpose, the bottom line goes back to where it belongs, at the bottom, and it responds as a result to a very specific service-orientated approach, and it becomes more abundant. Just makes common sense to me. So the world is upside down, and we approach everything upside down.
So what about, Bhutan's got what, world happiness?
Their one word is happiness.
Okay. So what about companies? Because often if I speak about linking your or aligning personal purpose to national purpose, you then at your book launch emphasize the need that, in fact, an individual leader who has purpose must ensure that the company must have purpose, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I was very interested in the lack of implementation, because purpose became the biggest, most talked about and most researched subject on the planet in terms of business conversation. I mean, McKinsey, the amount of studies on purpose came into our awareness around 2010 with Simon Sinek, Start With a Why, massive conversation, like a TED Talk, pretty much broke the internet. Probably one of the most listened to and watched TED Talks, Start With a Why, 2010. We were already on a 2-year journey with purpose, or I was, and then 2009 was Joe. So it came almost as like a thumbs up, you guys are on the right track. But then that thing became much bigger. At Cannes, where we go to as an industry annually, it became a massive talking point. Paul Pullman from Unilever drove it hugely, and now it's kind of like disappearing. And I think it's disappearing because we fail on implementation. 93% of strategies fail on implementation. That's a statistical fact. So we're good with making up the strat. We're terrible with implementation. So we don't walk the purpose talk. So my whole drive was to find the reasons for why not. And the biggest insight I found in my doctorate dissertation or thesis was that if you have 10 leaders on a board guiding a company of, let's say, 1,000 people, and only one of them are aware of their own one word and living it, you will only implement purpose into your organization to a maximum of 10%. So it is critical, crucial that the leaders do the work on themselves first before they try and implement into the organization. So if you want to fix South Africa, if I had to put all my eggs into one basket, I'll put it into the purpose basket, and I'll say, let's find a national one-word purpose for this country. It will have to be born out of the country's trauma, because the purpose is the furthest opposite positive expression of the negative experience of trauma.
And you don't have it now. I've asked you.
I don't have the answer, because what you should also never do is just cognitively come up with it. You'll have to do a process where you can involve as many people as possible to put forward what we believe the word is, and through another process you can sift it down. So you can work en masse with as many people through advertising, most likely, and then you will have to work at the top with the leaders in place at a more of a GNU level, and not. You need to work together as a team, because now the hierarchy is the country is the most important being. The human beings come second. Why? Because the country will live for hundreds of years. We all just have a finite lifetime. And the more sustainable we make the country, and the more we empower the country to be really well run and beautiful, the better the lives of all its people. So I view a country like a business, and I think it should run like a business.
Well, hopefully, listen, on the one word, we need to absolutely drive it. I need to partner with you, and I think it's that important, okay? What about, I mean, we've got a few minutes, in the few minutes we have remaining, I want to just pick out on other things. One is, I mean, you've written, let me just remember, so you've got this book called One Word, the other one is called Greatness.
Growing Greatness.
First
one, Growing Greatness. Second one, 20 Habits That Break Habits. Because I also realized that we've got limiting habits, and we can exchange them with liberating habits. And then this third one is based on my doctoral thesis, but I don't want to say I simplified it and made it easy to read, and I brought a lot of vulnerability and human experience in there, as with my first one, because I find when you share your heart, it touches other people's hearts.
Absolutely, So what then is, to confirm, your one word is greatness.
Yes.
But what then is your purpose, and what's the purpose of your ad agency, Joe Public?
So my one word is greatness. Its meaning is to bring out the best in those around me through bringing out the best in myself first. Now that sounds very simple, but that inspired my first, second, third book. It inspired the buyback of Joe Public. It inspired everything we did with Joe Public. It inspires every single thing that I do in my life is inspired by that strategic statement. When we then did the work on Joe Public, which was inspired through bankruptcy, again a breakdown, 2 years after my personal breakdown. So now I had this knowledge, and I took the gap because I'm a shareholder, which is a privilege, and my partners trusted me, and we went on a journey to find. Now, you would have assumed that it is creativity, but that's what we do. So the word of Joe Public is growth. And again, when you hear that, you'll assume, but all businesses must be growth. No, I've worked with almost 70 businesses now over the last 20 years doing this work, which is my side hustle. Very passionate about, and Joe Public's almost like an implementation test model of this belief. But what Joe Public's word means is to serve the growth of our people, our clients, and our country through the greatness of creativity. So yes, what we do is creativity, and we do it at a high level of excellence, and we drive it through measurement to consistently improve, so that in time we will become world class. I mean, imagine what that will do. Another Springbok team on the global stage, in a different industry.
And that serves the growth, right?
That delivers the intention, because the original intention was to make money through creativity. Equals bankruptcy. The new intention was to serve the growth of our people, our clients, our country. So when Accenture came to buy us, no way will our money leave our country. It's here to serve our people. And we declined. So that is our belief, and that is our master strategy for Joe Public, and that's what we work towards as a group of people every single day.
There we go. I mean, here's one, Ashraf, what a great interview. My takeaway was the execution gap. Stephen Covey has a great video on this one. Also, Good to Great by Jim Collins, in reference to the 3 disciplines. Good is the opposite of great. I think point made. That comes from Chris, right? Great one. Thanks for that, Chris. What about, so amongst the people, and you listen, you and I have obviously interacted on many occasions, but amongst the people you meet, is there a person who's not you now, who is the manifestation of all these things that you believe. Another South African. It's like, wow.
So there we had the other night interviewing me, Mteto Nyati,
the boss of Chairman of Eskom.
There we go.
For his country, yeah.
And when you ask him, there in open forum, I put him on the spot, he knew his word.
Yeah.
That's already what guided him to actually, after investing in his own entrepreneurial enterprise, give his time to the country to help fix. There's a leader that's following that way.
Yeah.
And
well, there's a good example.
There's a good example.
Is another, Ashraf and Pepe, we South Africa already have one word, peace. We've just forgotten about it. And we have a secondary word to back that up. In our context, that word is rainbow. So peace, rainbow. So there we are. As you said, we don't prescribe. We need to have those conversations, right? We've got about a minute to go. Is there a young South African that you'd like to give a shout out to?
The first word that comes up are two young South Africans. In fact, there's three. This is the future.
Right, you've got a minute. Go for it.
I would say first one, Tsepo Tomohole, one of our leaders, who's adding so much value to our business, and his partner Tsepo Mogorosi. And then we've got a new Joe that's been with us. I don't know if she's in the third year, called Janneke. I look at the youth, and their leadership capability and how strong they are, and it gives me so much hope. It gives me so much hope for the future. So those are my shout-outs.
Those are the ones, yeah. Well, absolutely. I'm sure others are going to ask more about it. Just the last thing to end with, how would you like to be remembered?
I'm not really concerned about being remembered, honestly. I really
irrelevant.
Not. It's irrelevant to me. My ego, I still got, of course, we all have an ego, but it's so much smaller than what it used to be. I would like to make a significant difference. That I can tell you right now. And I suppose if you in your life do make, because to me, a mother raising a child is as significant as a person leading a country. They're as significant. So I don't even.
Well, I think it's a good way to put it. Don't focus on being remembered. Much appreciate your time, Pepe. Thanks for that. Get the book, by the way. I just want to get that shout out there. Get the book. It's called one word, put together by Pepe Marie. I'm sure you got all of that. Great chatting. We'll chat again. I'm
Thank
sure
you so much,
sooner,
Ashraf.
if not later.
Appreciate
the news at 6 years Colorado.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories this hour. Credit for inquest. Here's